Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And of course, welcome again to the new starting time that we'll be doing each and every week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be the new time moving forward. And obviously, if you've been a part of this podcast, you understand that we needed to move ahead of Colt Eastwood, who has an incredible talk show. And what we're hoping is that we can get people to hang out with us, enjoy the banter. And of course, if our tenacity is at 100 as expected, then you will stick around for the second hour. Of course, I want to thank everybody for being here. And, obviously, we're missing two panel members. They are on the way in. Of course, Tempest Sun and Cybernox are coming from work. But we do have a panel here, and I want to get into the introductions, folks. But before I do, I kind of want to talk about something that I had posted my E3 2021 coverage schedule on social media, but I kind of want to bring that up for everyone to see, and we will talk about it. Here you go, folks. And I'm going to stop the the banner so you can see exactly. That's right. I am going to be covering E3 like a professional. There is going to be 6 live events starting on Sunday evening. Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. That, of course, is going to be the Xbox Bethesda event that everyone, I think, in the community is waiting for. Of course, Primetime Gaming is going to be the follow-up show. That is going to be us grading the Xbox show and talking about everything that went down. But I got to tell you, folks, the guest list that I'm putting together, I'm going to say this right now, could potentially rival Sunday's ILP that I was a part of. And of course, one of those folks that's going to be joining us that Monday is going to be Lord Cognito himself. And I'm just waiting on some confirmations of the other guests, but it's going to be a monster panel. And we're going to be breaking down everything that Xbox and Bethesda had to show during their event on Sunday. And of course, Tuesday, I'm going to be covering live the Nintendo Direct. It's going to be a watch party as things unfold. You'll be watching it with us live. The panel is going to be announced shortly. That show goes live at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're doing an E3 update podcast where we're basically going to be breaking down all of the big reveals from everyone in 1 2-hour show. That show starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. Of course, Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast is going to be all about Xbox and, of course, everything that transpired. And we're going to be talking with the crew to find out whether they enjoyed it or not. And, of course, finally, Friday, where I'm going to be able to take a breather after this show, is going to be the Breakfast with Boom show. And of course, that's going to be covering everything that happened from Tuesday all the way through Friday. So folks, I hope that you tune in. If you're not already subscribed to Double Barrel Gaming, this is as professional as I think I could get. I think actually that my advertisement may look better than even something like IGN or GameSpot, to be honest. And I'm tooting my own horn, and I really shouldn't. But folks, I want to get into the introductions. And first, we have to start with our special guest. This is someone that has been a fan of this show, has supported Double Barrel Gaming in such an incredible way. And the fact that I get a chance to now work with him is something special to me. He's a healthcare professional. He's a hero. He's also one of the voices on Noof's Good Morning Xbox on Sunday mornings. Scrub Nurse, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks, Boom. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here with the panel. And I see all y'all in the chat. Been in the chat with you guys for a couple of years. I love what's going on. I'm so excited for E3, and we're ready to get this party going. Let's go.
Well, thank you for being here, brother. I cannot wait to hear your commentary regarding a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about. Of course, next up, someone that you work with 2 times a week on 2 podcasts, and we got to get some more ears and eyes on. Everborn Saga, welcome to the program, my brother.
What's happening? Okay, I want to take 2 moments out here.
Take
first
3.
One, I'll take 3. Why not? God damn it! Listen, Scrub Nurse, listen. You are part of the reason that we got through this whole pandemic together. I literally thought 2020 that we were going to end up in I Am Legend, right? Like I really thought the world was over.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not even joking, right? Like with everything that happened, like in the last year, it's you guys that got us through it. So thank you for doing that. And you're better than any superhero in tights. That's all I'm saying. I mean, maybe you do wear tights, but that's not what we're talking about.
Oh, I definitely wear tights, but I get what you're saying.
But so yeah, and then boom, you are another hero of mine. I gotta say, man, you have this track record of just bringing people from the community on into your show and kind of putting them on and helping them do these things. Like whether it's me, you brought on Kay Asante the other day. Now me and Kay Asante are doing 2 shows a week. You know what I mean? Scrub Nurse, like you Pong Soul you brought on in the early days. Now I don't even know if we can call Pong Soul the rookie sensation anymore. He's just a pro, right? But my point is, what you do by involving the community in your shows and introducing the community to the public is you're doing the Lord's work. So I appreciate you for that. And now on to me. I cannot explain to you how excited I am for today's show, Saturday's show that I'm doing with Kay Asante. This is the Super Bowl, folks. I don't even mess with sports like that unless it's boxing. And I don't know if you guys saw that travesty.
Horrible, trash.
Nope.
Nope.
Travis not waste the money.
But like, I don't do sports. I don't care about basketball. I don't care about baseball or football. I care about this. This is it. So I'm super excited for this whole week. I cannot tell you how hyped I am for E3. So I'm ready, man. Let's go.
Well, listen, one of the things that when I decided to become a content creator, I was allotted a very, very unique opportunity with Mooch on Crossfire. I reached out to him as someone that listened to the show as a fan, and would, politely drop super chats in there because of my excitement for what they were talking about. And I got on the show. I did my 1 episode, and it was a bucket list kind of a thing. I got onto a podcast talking about video games, and I'm good. And what I didn't realize is that I had a voice that people wanted to hear. Like, you never know, right? Like, obviously there's not a lot of skill for talking on a mic, but people could gauge whether or not you're BSing, right? And I've always loved talking about games. And I was invited back, and like many people that I have asked to be on this show, it happened to me. So my sense of paying it forward is something that's ultra important to me. I think more podcasts should do it. I think that there is room in this industry for everyone that wants to talk about video games. I think that YouTube is big and it's packed with talent. And if I can help someone get out there and push and help make their brand, then I've done something. I've done the right thing. Again, I don't know how many people think that way, but it's how I think. But listen, it's great to have you here. It's great to have Scrub Nurse here. Like I said, I really mean that you are a hero. A lot, and like many blue collar working kind of jobs, it gets overlooked. Right, we get taken for granted, and we're certainly glad that obviously A, you're okay, and B, that you are here to talk about video games, because obviously it's going to be a lot of fun this evening. Next up, we're going to be talking to my brother from across the border. He is the loudest man in Canada. He's also someone that is always getting clobbered over the head when he buys PlayStation 5 games. Please welcome middle-aged gamer guy.
Hey guys, good evening. Well, good evening, Boom. Good evening, Chad, and to our special guest, Scrub Nurse, of course. And you know what? In light of that whole conversation you guys just had, I mean, this just mirrors my situation as well. I mean, it was no different for me. I mean, a year ago, at this time a year ago, I was still sitting on my ass listening to you guys, talking to my phone, and then finally, that's when one day when my wife came up to me and said, "You need to get on there." And then I started trying to get, and then I reached out to Noof Nukem, shout out to him, and then he gave me that shot. And then right after that, not even, I think it was the next day, Boom hit me up and said, "I want you on, to guest on my show," and then I became a permanent member. So It can happen to anybody, folks, as long as you got the drive, you got the passion, you love what you're talking about, you love what you're doing, and we all love what we're doing here, right?
Yeah,
I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it, right? So you know what? Super happy to be here. Always appreciative to be here each and every single week, and just to be here on YouTube talking about video games is like a dream come true to me for as well. So, anyways, guys, enough. We've got great topics tonight. Let's get right into the show.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you a part of the show, and of course, we have to welcome in someone that just popped in. He literally ran every red light to get here. Tempest Son, welcome back, brother. I'm glad that you're here. I know that you have some big opinions on some of the topics we're going to be covering. Cannot wait to hear them. How the heck are you?
Doing good, Boom. Coming in hot. I just got here. Kids are still awake, so just forewarning, they'll be awake for about till about 8 or so, and then things will quiet down a bit. So it might be chaotic when I do my part, but we'll push through. But thanks for having me, buddy, and super exciting time to be an Xbox fan. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, like I said, it's a lot to get excited about. I mean, again, it's funny because Lord Cognito, my brother from another, he kept saying that Twitter kept telling him, how dare he get excited for an Xbox show? How dare he get excited for the Xbox Bethesda showcase? You're not supposed to. You're supposed to hate everything. Well, we don't hate everything on here. We love everything. But I want to really get to the super chats that came in early. First, I want to shout out Lethal Papa. This is the man that patrols this chat each and every week. He keeps out the trolls. And had to give him a big shout out because last week he was working on overtime. I guess people, as we get close to E3, or maybe get nervous and they're coming into Xbox podcasts to make trouble. Well, he walks silently and carries a big band stick. So thank you for all you do, Lethal. And of course, Dan Lazaro drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, appreciate all the hard work and positivity. Boom. Well, thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. And of course, thank you for the generosity. And Percolator 9000 drops a $2 super chat and says, hello, Boom. Hello, panel. Was fire yesterday. Yeah, folks, it was fire. 5 hours of fire. It was so much fire.
I'm
Mr.
still
Boom,
listening to it. Like,
I haven't finished either.
I just want you to know that I haven't finished it yet. I'm gonna tell you what I did. After 3 hours, when you have a surgically repaired spinal cord like I do, there's only so much sitting that you can do, and I had to tap out after 3 hours. I could not take anymore. My back, I would have not been walking today. But of course, what could you say about a 5-hour podcast that was as awesome as the Iron Lords podcast was yesterday? And of course, King David delivered in the biggest way possible with, King does what King does.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, folks, before we get into the real nitty gritty, the mud, if you will, of some of the bigger Sony topics, folks, I got to talk about something that has just broke. And folks, listen, I'm not a coincidence kind of a guy. I'm a guy that likes facts. I'm a guy that brings the paperwork. I bring the papers needed, necessary to make this show as special as it is. And we just got breaking news that Insomniac, makers of course, Ratchet and Clank, which was releases on the 11th this Friday, and of course, Spider-Man, and of course, Miles Morales, and an OG Xbox favorite, at least for me, Sunset Overdrive. And I bring up Sunset Overdrive because they just activated the dead account and they started tweeting on it. So folks, listen, I talked about this a couple of months ago. I think not only is the PlayStation 5 going to get Sunset Overdrive 1 remastered in next-gen graphics, but I think they're going to get Sunset Overdrive 2, and I want to get everyone's opinion about this. And I'm going to read verbatim to both what the Ratchet and Clank and Rivet had to say from Insomniac Games and the Sunset Overdrive official Twitter accounts. And it says this: oh no, Fizzy says will not be happy about this. Quick, double check your profanity filters. And of course, this comes as a response to the Ratchet and Clank and Rivet Insomniac Games Twitter account. It says Clank is that another warbot getting sucked into a dimensional rift? Meaning, and they're actually showing Sunset Overdrive. Folks, I think it's coming. Scrub Nurse, I got to get your opinion on this. Do you believe in coincidences, or do you believe that there's something more to this story?
Hell no. I do not believe in coincidences at all. First of all, if anything will make me fight another grown person in the store is another Sunset Overdrive on PlayStation 5. I'll get a PlayStation 5 right now. I'll find a way. I've been having trouble, but
So you're saying that this is going to be a Cabbage Patch incident from the 80s? Is what
oh
you're
yeah,
saying.
Cabbage Patch, Pound Puppies. I mean, all of that. The new He-Mans. Remember the original turtles with the squishy head that they don't make
Oh
anymore?
my
Same thing. I know
Mm.
y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
you're an old man like us, so we appreciate it.
yeah. So for them to come out with that, it's what Sony does. They just pulled Insomniac in the mess like they always do. When Xbox has any news, I mean, Xbox could tell you that, that today they tied their shoes with no problem. Sony is going to come back and say, but well, yeah, you got dirt on your new Jordans or something. They're always going to have something to say. They're not going to let Microsoft and Xbox have all the limelight. Sony knows that Xbox is the only one that's going to be there at E3. Sony going to pull out and they're going to have their only show later. So they are always going to poke and prod and make sure that they have their name out there to try to overshadow anything Microsoft can do. And what's making it killer is they have a lot of bad press right now.
Yep.
So anything that either the fanboys or the press, which we're going to get to later, that can jump on to, they're going to sit there and hype it up even more. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about Insomniac. Everybody's going to start talking about Sunset Overdrive. Because me personally, I love Sunset Overdrive.
Me too. I'm right there with you.
This was one of the biggest missteps that Microsoft and Xbox had. I know they didn't have the bag at the time, and Phil was just coming in. But that game coming in with Xbox in 2013 was one of my favorite games of the whole generation. And it was one of those things they say, oh, Xbox had these cartoony games, or well, that was one of the cartoony games that I loved to death. And I don't know anybody that has not played that game that didn't enjoy it. So yeah, if they get a Sunset Overdrive 2, yes, the PlayStation 5 is going to be sitting in my house the second it comes out. I will be playing it more than my PS4 that is sitting collecting a little bit of dust. I still play it, but
well, I mean, listen, look, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I haven't turned on my PlayStation 5 in months, and it's not because I don't like it. It's because I haven't had a reason to. Now, this Friday, of course, I'm going to have a reason to because I'm a fan of Ratchet and Clank, and B, I love platformers. I'm an old school cat like that, so I'm definitely going to be doing it. But I'll tell you this right now. I don't care where I can play Sunset Overdrive 2. I don't care if it's on a refrigerator. I'm going to play that game. I quite enjoyed it. Now, I will say that one of the small annoyances with the original was the minute you hit the floor, it was molasses. They're going to have to make some changes. I understand they want you to grind. They understand they want you to, to do all that stuff. And that's great. The grinding and the jumping and the running on walls, that's awesome. But they're going to have to do something because the game became a crawl once you hit the floor. They're going to have to figure out something to make it a little bit faster. You know what I'm saying? But I will definitely jump. Hey, there's our good friend, Kay Asante. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. And salute to the panel. Been waiting for this this week all year. Happy E3, folks. Yeah, listen, this is one of those instances, I think, in the world of nerds, which is what we all are.
Yeah.
That we can push our, I don't want to say biases because that's such an ugly word, our differences when it comes to the consoles, just to celebrate gaming, just to be able to enjoy gaming. I think we can do that. I think, again, the conference is going to come out and everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, my conference is better than yours, and then it goes right back to normal. But up until now, I mean, like Jeff Keighley's stuff launches on Thursday at I believe it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to be watching that because obviously I'm going to be coming right after the Xbox Factor podcast prediction show, which we're doing on Thursday. Trying to get a few more extra guests so we can have a nice big panel for that. But I mean, let's get to middle-aged gamer guy. Are you listen? I know that a lot of people, this is going to be a sore spot for a lot of people, and I absolutely agree with Scrub Nurse. I think that wherever Sunset Overdrive turns out, and if one comes out and I can get trophies for it, I will rebuy it and play it on PlayStation 5. That's not a problem. What are your thoughts on this? Is this a coincidence? Is this another Sony tactic to pull eyes away from Microsoft because they're not a part of E3?
Well, the thing is, Scrub Nurse is right. They want the spotlight. And even if they don't have anything in their hands right now, they want to sell you the future, right? And that's what Sony does. They sell you the future. So they just like last year when we saw that whole reveal. I know we're going to get into it later. When we saw the whole reveal, what was it, back in September? And it's like God of War. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was my ass 2021. I'm like, and I knew exactly what they were doing. They're selling you the future. Right? Because they want you to run out, buy that console, get excited, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And of course, they didn't think that they were going to run into the whole problem of the shortage or whatever other excuse they've got. But I know there actually is a legitimate shortage. I understand that. But what they were trying to do is trying to sell the future, right? So they're going to do the same thing here. So now, in regards to what Scrub Nurse was saying, especially about getting a PS5, by the time this game comes out, PS5s will be like $299 on a Black Friday.
Yeah,
okay, because
I'll take it with that. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what do they got coming out right now? You got Ratchet and Clank coming out right now. They're going to have the sequel to Spider-Man coming out, which is what they're actively working on. Okay, that's not coming next year because they're going to save the spotlight next year for this the God of War situation. Okay, so they're not going to. I don't think they're going to release them back to back like that. I think that Spider-Man will go into 2023. And then you're going to talk Ratchet and Clank, or not Ratchet and Clank. What's it called? Sunset Overdrive in like 2024. Okay, so by that time, if you can't get a PS5 by then, I mean, then there's a serious problem. But let me get into something else here. About speaking about Insomniac, I mean, is Insomniac not like the coalition of Sony right now?
I would definitely say that they are. Yeah.
Like they are carrying their dead asses across the finish line. How many games have these guys been? I mean, like honest to God, like you look at like the coalition. Like the coalition was doing the same thing for Xbox for years. I mean, when Xbox literally had nothing in their hands, the coalition was cranking out games for these guys. You know what I'm saying? And Insomniac, my God, what are they buying for $285 million, something like that? Like we should have bought them. Look at the production these guys are putting out. They had the Spider-Man. They had Ratchet and Clank. Well, 2016 Ratchet and Clank. Then they had Spider-Man. Then they had Miles Morales. Now they got Ratchet and Clank again. Now they're talking about Sunset Overdrive. Now you're saying there might be a Resistance game in the mix? Jesus. They might as well just run the whole damn company at this point because that, when you look at like Naughty Dog, great games, by the way, but they only release 2 games every 10 years.
Right. That's why they have to do it. Yeah,
exactly. They, and it's crazy. You got, you get one Uncharted and then 5 years later, you're getting The Last of Us, right? All of a sudden, you look back and you're like, wow, Naughty Dog's an amazing studio, but Jesus, they've released 2 games in 10 years. Magnificent games, mind you, but still, and I'm going to exclude the whole remaster situation. But anyways, in regards to Sunset Overdrive, absolutely, I think they're going to ground up. They're not going to remaster what they already had. And I think with the art style that they already have, I think that they could do that efficiently as opposed to like a more, shall we say, a more realistic style graphics where, they show their age after like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like when you look at a game and you're like, wow, this looks so real. Oh my Lord, look at this. And then 5 years later, you're like, what the hell is that? They look like,
that's
triangles.
Like, that's like seeing Resident Evil.
Oh my Lord!
PlayStation 1. When you first played the trailer and they did that full, the full motion video cinematic, you're like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You watch it now, you're like, my God, my eyes.
Yeah, your eyes. It's like, you feel like your eyeballs are gonna melt out of your head.
Speaking of the first Resident Evil, who remembers? You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Who could forget it?
Oh yeah, that's right. Great line.
Forget it.
Yeah, great line.
I'm not sure if you were aware of this though. Insomniac, before they were purchased by Sony, was pushing for a Sunset Overdrive 2. As a matter of fact, they
Yes.
they reached out to the community to see, hey, they actually said something to the effect like, hey, we want to do it, but it's Microsoft's call.
That's right. They basically called them out publicly.
And you know something? I mean, this is one of those instances where you look at some of their older titles that you're never gonna you potentially could see on other platforms. And it's you know, again, the proper leadership wasn't there. It is now, unfortunately. We didn't have it back then, but I will say that they have, from what I understand, Mag, they have the script ready to go.
Well,
so,
I think that they've been working on it sort of quietly in the background for a long time.
They're
and I think that they were just looking for, they're big studio. I think they were looking for the funding, and I think they're going to get it. But, you know, the thing is, you know, Sony's not stupid either. You know, I mean, like, as much as we're going to like kind of like, you know, we're going to hack on them a little bit later. But, you know, the thing is, they're not stupid either. They're like, listen, you can go ahead and make your Sunset Overdrive 2. However, we want our Spider-Man first.
Of course.
And they're going to say, we got the Ratchet and Clank now. They're like, we want the Spider-Man first because we want it to ride off, well, obviously to ride off the popularity of the previous two games, the Miles Morales and, of course, the original Spider-Man. But you also have got, you know, Spider-Man No Way Home coming out and everything else. People still going to be riding high off the MCU stuff. You're going to have the new Spider-Man coming out at some point, hopefully within the year or so of the movie coming out. And then they're going to say, after that, once we've sold 25, 30, 40 million PS5s, go ahead and make your Sunset Overdrive 2. And then they're going to remaster the original, like you said. But you know what? Like I said, I don't think it's going to take as much. I'm not taking away from the developmental work that goes into it. However, I'm saying the art style, it'll be a lot easier to do a ground-up remaster of that, or remake, so to speak, than it would be like a more realistic graphics kind of game. So that being the case, I think that's going to come out sooner rather than later. I think they may price it down a little bit lower. You know, Sony's already on the hot seat right now with the $70 / $105 in Canada. So, you know, price tag for the games. I don't think they're going to go and try and charge for that unless they are absolutely in the lead. And the way that Microsoft is moving this generation, Sony is not going to be lapping Microsoft like they did last gen. So I think they're going to have to be very careful, release it at like a $49.99 kind of price point. And then from there, you could release your $70, you know, Sunset Overdrive 2. Either way, I'll be there for both games. I'll play both. I played it on the Xbox. I'll play it again on the PS5 if it's remastered. And I'll go back and get the platinum on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm perfectly happy doing that. Unlike Everborn, by the way, frauding out. I'm scared of the Valkyries, by the way, on God of War.
Yeah,
oh, dude, I'm going to be riding you like a donkey. I'm riding you like a donkey till you get that platinum. So anyways, that's a whole other story, folks. But the point is, I'm excited for it. I think it's coming, but do not look for this game any sooner than 3 years from now.
You know what? I am a fraud too because I loved God of War. I could not beat that final Valkyrie. I'm
trying to see if there's some weapon upgrades I can get.
I've tried
get
using Atreus to the best of his ability, and just when I get close, I just run out of health. It's one of my
it is
sad,
difficult.
admissions. It is ridiculous.
It is difficult. However, I did it, and it didn't take as long as I thought it would take. But it's all about those super power moves, and then you got to switch weapons and then do those power moves again, and then switch weapons and do the power moves again because they regenerate and stuff. That's all you got to do. But anyways, that's a story for another day.
It certainly is. Real quick, I want to thank Bounty Boom, who has become a channel member. Thanks a lot for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. Definitely appreciate that. Everborn Saga, let's get your opinion on this.
All right.
You don't believe in coincidences. And look, we have a lot of negative news to talk about with Sony. So we're gonna put the paddle to Sony's ass on this show for a lot of reasons. It's not because we are console haters, not because we're warriors for Xbox. But we're going to talk about things that people and other avenues are not talking about. And that is a lot of the shenanigans going on over at Sony PlayStation. And I know that there's going to be everyone here is going to have a big opinion. But I wanted to open up as we wait for people to file in. We're only 29 minutes into this show. This news just broke. I thought it was important. Do you think this is a coincidence? I mean, I even think that Ratchet and Clank was put out on the 11th to deter people from getting excited for Microsoft's conference. I mean, again, I'm not a tinfoil hat wearing kind of a dude, but we got to call a spade a spade. I mean, The 11th, the game comes out, and on the 13th, Microsoft has their show. Coincidence?
Nope.
I think not. What are your thoughts on this newest shenanigans from PlayStation?
All right, before we get into the PlayStation, I'm just looking at the likes here, and I see 91, but there's over 200 people watching at the moment. Can we please just try to get that up a little bit?
Thank you.
All right, now that we got that out the way, I just want to point out that it is entirely possible, right, that this could be a coincidence for the time being. And hear me out, right? What if it's not so much as a Sunset Overdrive being reactivated? What if Rift Apart has some story elements where Insomniac is visiting their other IPs?
Wow, dude.
Right? They're jumping from dimension to dimension. They're showing people get pulled in. The Spyro account also tweeted, right? You know what I mean? What if there's like a play on Resistance that Ratchet or Rivet has to jump into, right?
I'm going to tell you this right now. If that happens, then the GOAT title goes.
Sign this man up.
It's not. They should hire you for writing because, listen.
If I'm writing it, that's what I'm doing.
I never even put 1 and 1 together, and you know something, dude. I got to give you the biggest credit in the world. That is, I actually think that's what's going to happen. To be honest with you,
not as much credit as I give you for your E3 predictions, but we will talk about that later. Now, the other part of it is Mag. I disagree with you. If it is coming, I think it's coming sooner rather than later, because I think they want more PS5s out in the wild when they release Spider-Man as opposed to when they release.
You know what?
That's a good
Overdrive.
point, man.
Good point.
That's actually a solid point too. It could go either way, but man, I think you got a point there. But you know what the thing is, though, at the same time, by the time either one of those games is coming out, we're still talking at least a year and a half from now. And I think in a year and a half from now, you're going to have a hell of a lot of consoles out in the wild at that point.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've been hearing behind the scenes that, and I think Jez Corden actually said it yesterday on the Iron Lords podcast, because he stopped by also, that I'm almost positive it was him. If I don't want to misquote Jez, but that for the next year, it's going to be still hard to find these consoles.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
End of 2022, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the thing is, Everborn. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think that they'll actually launch what I would consider, or what maybe Sony would consider to be an unproven IP with 10 million consoles out or 15 million consoles out in the wild?
That's the best time to do it, right? They did it with Returnal.
Or what are they? What if they release Spider-Man PS5 on Steam?
I want to jump in and just answer that question before Everborn says it, because that, I think, is what doomed Sunset Overdrive from the beginning. If you guys remember, and I think Scrub Nurse, we were talking about this before, there were only 10 million Xbox Ones in the wild. So there was really no one to sell this game to.
Mm-hmm.
True, but untrue. And I'm going to counter that, Boom, with the fact that what the hell is it called? The ones Titanfall sold 10 million copies with barely 15 million consoles out in the wild.
You're right. You're right for that.
So I think it's dependent on the mass appeal of the game, I think, is what we're talking about. Whereas, Spider-Man's mass appeal across the globe, literally, right? And I think at that point, I think that's Marvel what Sony, right? And I think that's something Sony might open that up to the PC at some point, as maybe as a day and date. You know how they're dropping the pillow now, right? Because they're starting to release those, little tidbits so that their fan base don't throw themselves out the goddamn window.
If Spider-Man, even if it's 2018, goes to PC, do your friends a favor and lock all the windows.
Yeah, no kidding, right? What's the difference?
Because people could be jumping from bridges.
I don't get it.
Right. Now, the other point that I think a lot of people say, Microsoft, Sony bought them for 280 whatever million they got, and Microsoft should have bought that. I don't think there's ever a world, even if it was today, that Microsoft is in a position to buy Insomniac because their relationship back since the PlayStation 1 has been with Sony.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When we look at how close ZeniMax or Bethesda is with Microsoft, that's how close Insomniac has been with the PlayStation, right? Disruptor, Spyro 1, 2, and 3, right? On the PlayStation 1. PlayStation 2, you got Ratchet and Clank 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3.
Resistance 1, 2, and 3.
Right. And then more Ratchet games. So that they've done one game with Microsoft. I don't think they're ever buying them. Now, if you want to give Microsoft shit for not buying somebody, it's BioWare, because I will never forgive Microsoft for the state that BioWare is in today, because they could have bought them and let them make their games there, and I guarantee you, we wouldn't be where we at with where we are with BioWare today. So that's that thing. And the last thing is, Xbox fans, listen. I'm telling you, I have a PS5 specifically for Insomniac games. Right, the games that they produce. That's why I bought the PS5. Right. So I that's fine that they'll play. I don't care where Sunset Overdrive comes out, whether it's cross-platform, cross-gen, exclusive, whatever it is, I'm going to play it. So that makes no difference to me. But if you're an Xbox guy, all hope is not lost, because listen, the play style for Sunset Overdrive, they didn't start that. You know what that was? Jet Set Radio.
I was just about to say, yeah.
And that is still in play, right? So I would hope that if maybe it takes Sony making a name for that type of game again, and that'll wake Microsoft up. But I would love to see another Jet Set Radio future, or whatever they'll call it. So and that boom did not have the problem with when you hit the ground you slowed to a crawl, right? That was all about the grinding, and when you're on the ground, you're still skating, you're still moving, you never stop. You can spray paint things. So that's a thing that I would love to see from anybody, even if Sony makes it. I would love for Sunset Overdrive to come back, and I would really love for a Jet Set Radio to come out that looks like Scarlet Nexus.
Oh, dude, that would be dope. Tempest Sun, let's get your opinion. But before I do, first of all, I got to thank you for becoming a channel member. That's very kind of you, panel member. But Bounty Boom drops another generous $5 super chat and says, "I'm back, baby. Had to do a new account. Google was tripping. Sorry, Boom. This is Bounty Boom. Yeah, I knew that was you, dude. At work to have a listen to the show, in and out, but I can't wait." Well, thanks so much for the generosity, becoming a channel member, and of course, dropping another $5 super chat. Tempest Sun, are you? Is this Sony's way of being at E3 when they're not at E3?
Oh, they've always kind of done stuff like this, and you know what? They're gonna have to be
the master manipulators.
They are. They got to be crafty. Listen, I mean, for whatever reason, money, but for whatever reason, they're not there. They got to be crafty. So I mean, it's smart of them. What I will say about I'm a man of my word. As soon as Sony releases a game, I have to have. One of them would be like a brand new Gundam game, of course. But I'd say I think Sunset Overdrive 2 would push me over the edge. I honestly say that because I'm not a Ratchet and Clank guy. I played them briefly when I was younger. Didn't care. Didn't do it for me. I tried their one legitimately kind of bad game that they made. I think it was Haze. I think that's what it was called.
Was the only game they've ever made.
Yeah, that was just like not good. Yeah, it just wasn't good. So but when Sunset Overdrive came around, it was hitting all the right notes for the Xbox. I bought the bundle with the white Xbox, the fat VCR when it came out. I bought that bundle that came with the game, and my only issue I had with that game, and I really do mean this, this isn't a joke, is there wasn't enough of it. I played through the story. I did a lot of side content, and it was still only 20 hours. Going for the platinum, which I didn't do. I'm not an achievement chaser, but I was thinking of doing it just because I loved it so much. But that probably would have tacked on another 5-6 hours finding all the freaking toilet paper and and shoes hanging up on the electrical wires, whatever. But I adored that game, and I was very excited.
You know why it was so great
yeah.
about it? It celebrated everything that Insomniac is.
Yeah, that's good, and it was pure them. I mean, some of the humor in that game cracked me up. It was timely. There was plenty of Breaking Bad references. Anything that was big around that time was in there. Some people think that's cheap. I don't. I think it's like a nice little snapshot of time, wherever it is when that game comes out. I like it when games do that. It just kind of reminds you of what was big at that time. I loved it. Loved it. But yeah, it was honestly too short. Wasn't enough of it. I could have easily have played that game, the story been 10 hours longer, and it would have been one of my favorite games of all time. Easy, but loved it. So I think Sunset Overdrive 2 would actually push me over the edge. That's a lot of ka-ching. I for one game at this point, I might wait to see if it comes to PC, because that's a very real possibility. And kudos to Sony, not shame on Sony, but kudos to of Sony to do that. That's one of the reasons I love Xbox. I have a PC sitting right here. As a matter of fact, Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis comes out in 2 days, baby.
Yes, sir.
And I don't have a second Xbox right now. I just don't. I have the one Series X, and I have my PC. Thankfully, it's crossplay, and
nice.
That's just like par for the course for Xbox games, right? So that's one of the reasons I love them. So, yeah, so that's how I feel on the matter as far as Sunset Overdrive goes. This bold statement, I played it. I almost beat it, but this is a weird thing with me. I hate the way that Spider-Man games are made. I know too much about the character. So when Spider-Man, I've said this before, but has to punch a common thug in a hoodie about 35 times, kick him in the air, and then bash him down to the ground, and he gets back up and he starts shooting a gun at me. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. Doesn't make sense to me. So that really frustrates me, like, for Spider-Man games. So maybe that's why. But I like Sunset Overdrive more than Spider-Man through and through. I think Sunset was their best game. And I think I would literally buy a PS5 for that. So,
and you know what? That's what Sony. Look again. I'm an Xbox first guy, but I always tip my cap to the masters of marketing at Sony. They know how to sell you a game. They know how to get you excited for their IPs, and they certainly know how to generate buzz when they're not even involved in a big thing like E3. Like, I really do mean that. I think that you're going to see, again, it's no mistake that Ratchet and Clank is being released right before E3. It is not a mistake at all.
It's smart. I said it's smart that it's being released right before.
Yes, it's business move.
Keep all eyes on Sony, even though they're not at the big show, which we don't even know. I mean, there's rumors that they're going at the end of June. We don't know. But folks, listen, we have 300 people here. And I think what we're going to talk about is going to keep you, because now we have to get into a lot of the negative Sony news, and this is them putting themselves in the corner. This isn't something that we're going out of our way to tell the story. This is something that's happening and has happened. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because my panel, who are like brothers to me, reached out during a DM and said, "Boom, we have to talk about this because no one else is," and they're right. You don't see anyone of the mainstream media, which we're going to get to in a second. We're going to string them up by their Buster Browns on this episode as well, because there are several people in the media that I love. Jeff Grubb being one of them. There's so many I can list that I respect, that I listen to on a weekly basis. But there are a lot that I have a tremendous amount of distaste for, because at the end of the day, they're just they're liars. And we have to open up with the Generations situation. We found out that God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and I think even Ratchet and Clank at some point is going to be brought back to the PlayStation 4. I don't care what they say. But that is not the story, folks. The story here is the way the media has covered this. And this is something that the chat was the panel was very passionate about in the DMs, and I had to talk about it. I had to talk about it today because they were passionate. They wanted to talk about it. So here we go. Now, I was looking through, seeing what the media is saying about how Sony is, they're the heroes of the universe, because they have not left their PlayStation 4 brethren behind, and they care about Generations all of a sudden, meaning that they're going to support PlayStation 4. Now, we also understand that the reason why they want to continue to support PlayStation 4 is because of the shortages on PlayStation 5. That is a big problem. It's not going away for at least another year. Semiconductors is an issue. No one thought it would be. But I found several, but I'm going to read one, and I'm going to bring Scrub Nurse into the conversation. One of the articles that was written by Games Radar, and they're notorious for dumping on Xbox. And they did a piece regarding Xbox making the announcement to their player base that we're going to support for at least 2 years the Xbox One, right? And this is what the first article says. PlayStation 5 reported to have next-gen exclusives after Microsoft announces cross-gen plans for Xbox Series X. And they continue. Cross-gen games are hurting the industry, and we need to cut them loose. Those are direct quotes from Games Radar. Well, it's funny because many years later, or it wasn't many years, many months later, Games Radar runs another story. Yes, a bunch of games were previously presumed to be exclusive on PlayStation 5 are actually coming to PlayStation 4, and no, that's not a bad thing. Really? Because the article on my left says that we need to cut these older generations loose, and on the other side of the cheek, they're saying this. Scrub Nurse, listen, you and I were talking before in the green room before we went live, and you had a lot to say, and I hope that you have the same tenacity to that you're going to bring for this for the conversation that we had privately. Because the one thing that's disappointing is it's okay to root for your team. Like I'm a Steeler fan, right? And I don't root for the Browns because I'm a Steeler fan, but I don't go out of my way to discredit the Browns in any way. They're just who they are, who they are, and they're actually going to have a really killer team. But my question to you is, this isn't just Games Radar. This is IGN. This is GameSpot. This is Kotaku. These are some of these bigger sites that apparently are, PlayStation loyalists in some way or another. And I always thought that when you wrote as a journalist, you wrote objectively to give your reader an unbiased opinion on the work that you're doing. At least that's what I always thought. What are your thoughts on the role reversal on Sony, and more importantly, how the same press that threw Microsoft under the bus 10 times over are now praising Sony for the same thing?
Oh yeah. I'm going to show a little age when I say this, but I think this
I'm the oldest man
perfect.
Here. I'm going to be 51. Yeah. It's okay. It's
that's
all
right. I think this is going to fit. But I don't know how many people, they know it because of memes. Look at this photograph and Nickelback. Okay. For some reason, in the last 15 years, everybody is Nickelback's the worst band ever created. But I know I've been on plenty of boats in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the lake, and people were just cranking it up to 10 all day long. Nickelback, this is my favorite show. This is my song. I love this, singing, drinking, having a ball. And all it took was about 3 or 4 memes on the internet saying how horrible Nickelback was. And then nobody wanted to say that they were a Nickelback fan. All of a sudden, people had every CD and went to concerts. All of a sudden, oh, Nickelback is just horrible. And I think this is where the media is. The media is sitting back and going, well, right now, this generation, Xbox is Nickelback. Because a lot of them, when the 360 was out, were praising the effects of the 360. It goes back and forth. It ebbs and flows. There's going to be the pendulum is going to swing one way to another. And I think as long as Xbox keep doing the things that they're doing, there's just going to pull more on the side. But the money, look how many channels, Xbox channels, all of a sudden were, oh, I like both. And then a couple of months later, it was, I'm only PlayStation. Xbox is horrible, because that's where the money is. It's all about the money, Lebowski. And that's where these people are. They know it's going to be clicks. They know people are going to come see it. And even if the people don't agree with it, they are going to put it out because it's going to put their name forward. Folks are going to Folks are going to give them more stuff to write. It's going to put their name forward. They're going to be asked to be on more podcasts that talk about that favorite subject. And it's just a way to just cling on. I mean, if I knew that no one in the whole high school and I was a brand new kid liked pink shirts and that's all I had at the house, I'd probably start wearing other shirts just so I can fit in. That's where these news people go. They got the money. PlayStation has the more fans, and that's all they're doing. They're just going to keep pushing money because it's going to be clicks. The biggest way to promote your channel for all of you people that are having YouTube channels and you just starting out, pick something and just trash on it. Even the algorithm will put you out even more if you just put a title
it's funny
that
you say that
trashes
because
something.
yeah, dude, you're really on to something, because I've actually had a lot of people ask me, Mr. Boomstick XL, how come you don't have more subs? Honestly, I don't know, to be honest. I put the work in, and the algorithm, unfortunately, is not on my side. And that's because I put out these shows that are positive, that use facts, that do not, use hate to its advantage. And I'm not a clicks kind of a guy. Like, I'm not going to, generate a thumbnail that's clickbait. I don't like to do that. I mean, sure, they're going to be like tonight's thumbnail is very revealing. Like it's clearly that we're going to be talking about Sony, but it's not done in a way that, I have to click this. I think if you know the content, you're going to like it. But I think you're onto something with, if you want to sell on YouTube, and I'm not saying you're going to be successful. I'm saying that if you want to clicks, it's dump on something. And unfortunately, that's the sad part of it.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter what it is, but in the video games genre and where it is right now, it has to be you got to say something about Xbox negatively, and you don't have to do it all the time, but if you want to make the most effect everything Xbox does, you have to say something bad about, just to keep your name in the forefront, because trust me, there are 500 folks in front of you that are talking about Xbox worse. I mean, we got folks in the chat that, over time, you're going to have people in here that are only here just to listen to what Boom said so they can go back to their podcast or their show and go, oh, these Xbox say such and such and such and such and such and such. I thought you were a PlayStation channel. Why are you always talking about what Xbox is doing? So it's just one of those things. But I think Phil and everyone working together is fighting that, and it's just going to get better over time. It's just going to take a while to fight through all that negativity.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Let's bring in middle-aged gamer guy on this conversation. Now, Mag, you were very vocal in the chat, and you kind of have a lot of things you had to want to say about this. Listen, this, the onslaught of negativity, I should say, towards Xbox is nothing new. But what's shocking is articles just like that. And again, I only read one. I could pull 12 of them, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about a particular situation regarding the media praising Sony for not leaving their fans behind, which is what Microsoft did. And of course, they did it the right way by being transparent with their audience and not lying to their audience like Jim Ryan basically did. And what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I hope everybody turns their headphones down just a little bit, so I don't want to blow your eardrums out. Now, in all seriousness, when I looked at the show notes and I looked at the little title for the show tonight about role reversal, there was no role reversal. They knew this years ago. They knew exactly what they were doing years ago.
Facts.
This is not new. They did not decide 3 days before, let's just put Miles Morales on the PS4. No. They knew in 2017. They knew in 2018. They knew in 2019. They knew exactly what they were doing from the get-go. My problem with them, and this is something I've always said, the mantra, love PlayStation, hate Sony. I hate that company because the problem with them is they do not respect the consumer in my eyes. That's the way I see it. They do not respect us as grown adults. They do not speak to us like grown adults. They do not address us like grown adults. They treat us like children. And what do? By disrespecting your fans, by not having the balls to come out and say exactly what you're doing, shows that you don't give a shit. Because you know, like an abusive relationship, you know that you could smack around your fan base. They're going to say, I'm leaving forever. And then later that night, they're going to sit on the couch with a beer with a smug look on their face, knowing that you're going to walk back in that door and go right back into your room. They know exactly what they're doing. And it's a scumbag move, and it pisses me off. It's something that I absolutely cannot stand from them. Okay? Just come out and say it. Have the balls to come out and say, this is the game plan. And then if you're confident in your product, and if you're confident in your fan base, which you should, because in my eyes, you should be kissing Sony. I'm talking directly to you as if you're a person. You should be kissing every fan's ass because they do free advertising for you for a whole goddamn generation. Okay? That's what they've been doing. And they're still doing it now. The media does it. The fans do it. They do, the word of mouth and everything else. They're basically working for Sony. Sony doesn't even have to do advertising. They just send their minions out to do their bidding. And then they will just, crush every narrative, do all this, make YouTube videos, do all that. Media sites writing all these stupid articles. Okay? And they are stupid. Yeah. Because they're short-sighted. They don't think about what's coming up. Look at all the situation. I'm not going to, start digging up too much of the past. But look at things like the whole DRM issue with Microsoft in 2013. And Microsoft said, sorry, this is what's happening. This is what the future is. And everybody slammed them. What's everybody doing now? Exactly that. Yep. Remember when everybody laughed? Xbox on. Ha 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 ha. What's everybody doing now, right? Same old shit with their Alexa and all the other nonsense they got going on, Google Home and all that stuff. They're doing it, and then what did they say about this situation? No player left behind. Now, I understand that Microsoft has two reasons to be doing this. The first reason, let's face it, they're doing it because of Game Pass, okay? Because you can't have Series X exclusives, and then you have people on Game Pass. Can you imagine the logistical nightmare of trying to, recognize what console is accessing Game Pass? Like, let's say you have an Xbox One, you have Game Pass, and you have a Series X, and you have Game Pass. You can't have some games only accessible on the Series X, and then other games not accessible on the Xbox One. Doesn't work. So they knew that they were going to do this. Okay, until eventually, years from now, when the Series X blades are put into xCloud and in the Game Pass and all that other stuff, then they'll be able to utilize that properly. Okay, then they'll cut off that old system. But for now, and then it'll be a smooth transition. But for now, that's what they're doing. So that's their number one goal, is because of Game Pass. The second thing, though, is they had the balls to come out and say that exactly what they're doing, because A, they're not going to leave that fan base behind for now. And then you've got the shortage of new consoles, so people can't even get them or afford them, let's just say, as well. Okay, even though there's a Series S, but no one can still get it. And the point is that they actually, they respect their fan base. They tell them, they speak to them like adults. They tell them exactly what their plan is going forward. And whether you're on board or not is entirely in your hands. It is your decision to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to hold off on getting an Xbox or whatever you want to do. They don't care. They're saying, well, I mean, I'm sure they do care, but you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is they're leaving it in your hands like an adult. With this Sony baloney, that kind of sounds like Tony baloney, but yeah, Sony baloney. Okay, what that's all about, okay, is that they're lying to you. And I've been saying this since last year. I said it on the air, I don't know how many times. And you know what the funny thing is? And I've noticed, I know who's on board with me and who's not on board with me. I'm not expecting everybody to be on board with what I say, okay? I'm not a dictator, okay? I just say what I say, whether you agree with me or not, that's up to you. But I noticed not as many people were on board with me last year when I said from the day one, I said, Sony is lying to you about everything coming up in this next generation. And look what's happening now. 10 months later, because I said that way back in August of last year. Look at almost 10 months later. A lot of those people are all coming around, aren't they? Because now they're seeing what's going on. Now they're seeing all the, all the nonsense that Sony's been pulling here with this kind of stuff. I'm not saying anything about their games. I'm not saying anything about their system or their hardware or anything like that, or their services. I'm talking about the way the company presents itself to its paying consumer is bullshit. It is ridiculous. It is unsatisfactory in my eyes, and I think in a lot of people's eyes. But you know what the thing is? Sony is so cocky and arrogant. They know that they will continue to do whatever they want to do, because the problem is people will not speak with their wallets.
Facts.
Because the minute Ratchet and Clank comes out, everybody's going to go out and buy it, or at least everybody who can go out and buy it. Okay, and then when Uncharted 5 comes out, same thing. You know, and when Last of Us 3 or whatever the hell they're working on, or the remaster of the remake or the remaster of the remake of Last of Us 1 comes out, they're going to buy that too. But the thing is, and another thing that I think that Sony was doing this for a reason, by the way, it is a justification to continue to charge these $70, $105 for me price tags for these games. Because what they're going to do is they're going to charge $60 for the PS4, like everybody else has been doing, and they say, oh, but the PS5 version is $70. Why the hell is it $70 when it's look at what Microsoft is doing? You remember when people laughed last year, by the way? People laughed when Phil Spencer came out at E3 and he said with smart delivery, these games will be upgraded to the Series X and this and that and free of charge. And I remember watching, you remember he said it free of charge, and he said it with authority. And even I sat back and go, what's the big deal? I don't get it. Why is he putting so much emphasis on free of charge? Because Phil knew what Sony was up to. You don't think that these guys know what they're doing? They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
they know exactly what they're doing. So now, if you have a good memory, which I tend to sometimes, okay, when I'm not drinking. Anyways, the point is, when I go back, I think about that. I think about that situation, and I think about what he said, free of charge, and he even stuck his finger out, okay? Like he was really making a point, and it stuck with me. And I said, why is that so important? Now fast forward a year later, and you see that Sony is charging you for that free upgrade that Microsoft has given you. That's why that line was so important. That's why it was so effective. But now the funny thing is, it's effective a year later. They should bring that conversation that he had, that presentation, those exact words, they should be printing those articles, not what they're doing now, like the games radars and all that nonsense that you were just talking about. I don't have to reiterate everything that you had already said, but there are all kinds of all these other things that they're saying, like they're doing it to justify this extra $10 or whatever, and for me an extra $20. Okay, that this is what I don't understand. I don't understand, like, and getting onto the media situation. I see where it's all going. It seems to me like a gigantic conspiracy. Like, for example, here's another one. This is from the developer from Horizon Forbidden West, director, excuse me. You are now free to climb anywhere on any mountain, rocks, or cliffs. Well,
first ones to do it.
Yeah, like no shit. Isn't that something? You can climb on rocks and trees and stuff, eh? Assassin's Creed got something to say. Breath of the Wild's got something to say. Don't they?
2017.
Okay? But you realize what this all is? This is all just speak to get people to go, oh, yeah, well, now it's worth $70. You know what I'm saying? And they do all these little things like this. They make it sound like they invented the wheel when the wheel was invented 1,000,000 years ago. But they always make it sound like they just created it yesterday. And that goes for a lot of other things too. A lot of their other games and all this. It's like, Ratchet and Clank is going to be 60 FPS. They splash it on every media thing in the world. And I'm like, I'm playing 260 FPS and some are like up to 120 FPS right now on my Xbox.
Yes.
What's the big deal? What is the problem? Why is this news all over the place? That is something that the PS5 should already be doing. This is not newsworthy. But what do? They make it newsworthy to get people to go out there and go, oh, here's my money, just take it. Meanwhile, there's all kinds of other systems that are already doing this when it comes to PC or whatever else, right? PC and then the Xbox Series consoles. Okay, and this is what I don't understand. And the other thing too about I just want to get to one last thing, and it's kind of off topic, but it's not off topic. Okay, like the PlayStation fans getting pissed off. Another thing, actually, no, this is on topic because when Sony was talking about the games going to PC, they're just putting that pillow down again. Okay,
Yeah.
and you know what they're going to do? They're going to do exactly what they did when they announced that games were coming to the PS4. They'll do it in a blurb in some random ass tweet 30, 40 minutes after a presentation. Okay, you mark my words, one of these days, I don't know if it's going to be this year or it's going to be next year, but somewhere down the line, there's going to be a tweet saying, day and date, all these games are going to PC. And it's going to be in tiny, tiny letters, and it's going to be 40 minutes after presentation when the presentation is going to say, only with the power of the PS5. And then 30 minutes after the show, it's going to say, and it's also on PC. And those games are going to come day and date on PC at some point. I don't know when, but it's going to eventually happen. And the thing is, they're going to get pissed off again. And why are they going to get upset? It makes no sense to me. Like, Boom, I know you like Dr. Pepper, right? That's your jam.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you consume Dr. Pepper in a can, when you go to a restaurant, are you consuming it in a can? No. They're going to give it to you in a glass. Are you going to get pissed off that they put it in a glass?
No.
What's the difference? Where you're consuming this product and how you're consuming this product shouldn't make a difference to the media or to the fans, as long as people are out there enjoying the software and enjoying the games. That's the way I see it. That's the way it should be. And the one thing I just want to wrap up this whole situation is that Sony, from the get-go, moving forward, and I think the fans and the media should be holding these people accountable, hold them accountable instead of holding them high. Tell everybody that's giving you their hard-earned money the truth as to what you're doing, and you will earn the respect. You don't buy respect, you earn it.
Yeah. No, I absolutely a fantastic rant. What can I say? There's nothing to follow up. I do want to get to Everborn Saga, but Everborn, before I get to you, brother, I got to catch up on some of these channel members and super chats. First of all, Arn Comparo becomes a channel member. Arn, thanks so much for being supporting Double Barrel Gaming and becoming a channel member. Davikin89 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I think Microsoft is buying NetherRealm or Rocksteady. You know what? I would not be surprised by those. I listen. All I know is that
if they are, they're not doing it by this Sunday.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be by this Sunday. I think you know, if you tune into tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast, I have an idea of who I think they're buying. And as a matter of fact, I think it's going to be announced at E3. Another addition to Xbox Game Studios. I'm not going to give that away. I want you guys and gals to tune in. But Sir X-Men, generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, can Sony pull digital rights for Sunset now? I think that they own. I'm almost positive that Insomniac Games actually owns the right. So if they wanted to put Sunset Overdrive 1 on a PlayStation 5, I think that they could. I don't know if there's anything stopping them. Flame in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Jim Ryan is the best snake oil salesman in the business, ain't he? Well, I added in the business, and he said, ain't he? Yeah, and indeed he is. Isaac Gentry drops a very, hey, becomes a channel member. Hey, Isaac, thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And our very good brother, Philly Eagle, becomes a channel member once again. Thank you for that. JD Gamer with the $5 super chat and says, Sony thought they could do what they want, do what they often have, which is to let Microsoft take the bad PR for doing cross-gen and moving the medium forward with Game Pass and backwards compatibility. That's a great point, and that's the truth. We also have another super chat that came in, or another channel member came in. Kilantis became a channel member. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. Definitely appreciate the support. And last but no way least, Slipspace drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, no amount of reason can change an opinion formed without it. We need to start ignoring these people, frustrating or not. And I agree. Yeah, I think you're onto something with that. But Everborn Saga, let's get your opinion on this, because, you know, you had a lot to say in the DM. And listen, I understand. And we're going to, on the back end of this topics, folks, we're going to go into some confirmed information about Sony's terror tactics on their partners. I got something that came out of one of Jeff Grubb's podcasts that a guy on Twitter named Fatal Enigma posted, and I had Jeff's response. But of course, that's not just where it ends, folks. We have some more information on a big title pulled from Microsoft's show. And we don't know why, and I think we kind of do now, and we're going to get that. We're going to get that on the back end of this topic. But Everborn, with the media now championing Sony for not leaving any man behind. But when Microsoft was doing it, it was and never was. It was holding back the industry. It was holding back the Series X and S. And now we're seeing all of these outlets defend this. What is going on?
I'm gonna tell you exactly what's going on, and I have to channel my inner King David right now. Right? Listen, it is not like BDSM is not abuse if your partner is in on it, right? So you have the media and you have these PlayStation fans. I don't even want to call them I'm a PlayStation fan, right? You have these console warriors, right? That are just saying, "Hurt me, please, daddy." Right? I'm being serious, right? I'm not even joking, right? What happens is, and I learned this in politics, and it kind of sucks that it's like we have to deal with it here. You can see on the face of all those disingenuous arguments that have been made for the last year, right? Whether it's from media outlets, whether it is from these people arguing on Twitter, they never felt, nor did they ever care that games were cross-gen, right? And all the Microsoft is holding back the whole gaming industry. In one sentence, they said their last place there never was, but somehow them supporting doing cross-gen support is somehow holding back all of gaming, right? And the white console knight
Sony
comes in,
yep.
and they are at the cutting edge of technology, right? They're the ones saving us all from the big bad Microsoft, who only cares about money. Not the one that's charging you $70 a game and doesn't have a subscription service that's worth its salt. It's Microsoft that only cares about money. And it's because they lost the generation while they're supporting those all. They should rip the Band-Aid off and show us everything. Now you see when they see that sort of Sony does it, now it's like, hold on, everybody, let's let cooler heads prevail. Everything that all the Xbox guys said about it not being a big deal, about it being x86, about this being the case on the PC since its inception, where you were just kind of told, no, you were damage controlling. Now, everything that we said is what you're hearing them say now, right? You saw the articles, and it wasn't just Games Radar.
No.
Right? It was, you name it.
Yeah,
an article
absolutely.
about it,
IGN
right?
was a part of it. Kotaku condemned Microsoft for holding back the generation.
GameSpot, everybody.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what, Mag? I'm not mad at Sony, right?
Nope.
Because guess what? Jim Ryan, and I'm quoting Jez Corden here from Xbox 2 earlier today. He played the media like a fiddle. He put back there, and he knew, I just have to give them something, and they're going to run with their narratives, right? So let me say just enough. Then he sits back, and he turns Herman Holst, hey, watch this. Watch what they're going to do for us. He never said he never put in words. He just phrased it in a way that he knew that the media and a lot of console warriors would run with and do his work for him, right? And guess what? This is not supposed to be a fair fight. Microsoft is not playing fair when they're buying Bethesda and they're gonna lock things out. So I don't expect Jim Ryan to play fair. But what I do expect is intellectual honesty, right? And I think a lot of people, you see it. It's so clear now. The grass is cut and the snakes are showing that all that intellectual dishonesty is just coming back to haunt those people. So Sony can say whatever they want to say, but if it's your fault, if you run with that, Because guess what? All the level-headed people, I'm not even talking about Xbox fans, I'm just saying level-headed people from the beginning said it's not that big of a deal. Because guess what? We've been gaming for longer than one generation, and we've always known that the first 1 to 2 years of any console generation is going to have cross-platform titles. But now all of a sudden, because what Sony wanted to do was give the impression that there was a clear distinction, except there is no clear distinction, right? They're doing the same things. They're just doing it at a different clip. And I want, if you are not familiar with this, if you never took Philosophy 101 in college, I want you to Google, not right now, but when we get off of the show, Google Plato's allegory of the cave, right? And what that talks about is, it talks about a bunch of people that are chained up in a cave, and their only perception of the real world is shadow playthings that the enlightened people show them. So they don't know what the real world is. And then they let one of the people that was chained up out, and they let them out into the light. And they said, okay, go back and explain to the people that have been chained. You've been enlightened. Literally, you were let out into the light. Go back and explain to your chained up brethren what light is. You know what the chained up guys did? They said no and started throwing rocks at them because they couldn't fathom what the truth was. I'm not even joking. Look this up. That allegory is just as valid today as it was whenever the thousands of years ago when it was written. So again, you can't argue with these people, and you see them for who they are. So you know what I do? I just know who I can take seriously. And I know what to expect from Mr. Dance Moves, right?
Mr. Dance Moves, that's right.
Right. And again, I want to read that quote that we were talking about how everything that Microsoft takes crap for, because Microsoft has been enlightened, and then they come back and try to tell the troglodytes, try to show them the light, and they get rocks thrown at them, right? But now listen to this. This is from Herman Holtz from that interview that he just did, that scripted interview. But I want to emphasize.
I love how you emphasize scripted. I like that.
Super scripted. Oh right? Yeah. He says, but I want to emphasize that PlayStation will remain the best place to play PlayStation Studios titles at launch. Period.
Why?
Right?
Why did he say that?
Why did he say at launch? Because we know where this is going, but he knows who his audience is, right? He knows that they know that they have to handhold their audience and drag them over kicking and screaming. What Microsoft said is, look, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. You're an adult. You've been gaming since I've been gaming since the Super Nintendo Genesis days. Boom. You've been gaming before that. You're all grown men and women. This is what we're doing. Now you can adjust. What Sony said is, whoa, you guys are babies. I have to spoon feed this to you, right? So they want to make that clear distinction. Why? Because they want to give them something to run with. And then everybody's going to say, see, but Sony is still doing it they were never going to do it, but ignore that. But see, Sony's going to have the best games to play at launch. They're only going to give PC our leftovers. Okay. Give it 6 months, right? And then he has to put in it. This is the next part. So this is the next part of that. He says, but we do value PC gamers because they still want your money, right? We do value PC gamers, and we'll continue to look for the right times to launch each game. Ben Studio just released the PC version of Days Gone on May 18th. So that's about 2 years after the PS4 release. Do you think their games are going to be 2 years delayed to the PC? Do we think that that's really going to be the case for the future?
No.
The longer it goes, the shorter the time is going to be.
Yep.
And listen, he knew they were crying. So in the end of that paragraph, he says, and I hope that a new set of fans can and will enjoy the title. And that's the goal. We want to reach new gamers who haven't yet experienced great stories and characters in the worlds that we've built. And then he says, releasing games on PC will not ever come at the expense of building an exciting lineup of great console games. Again, that is him just feeding them lines that now that's going to be the right way to do it. Until they come back and say, you know what? We think day and date's the right way to go, right? Because they behave like children, so they get treated like children. And if you behave like an adult, you will get spoken to like an adult. So they're babysitting, and that's fine. They're doing what they have to do. I think Microsoft is not playing around anymore. They're on a hunting spree. So Sony's going to do what they got to do, and that's fine. But it's on us as individuals to call bullshit where we see it, or we're going to cheer it on, and they're going to keep doing it. So that's my rant.
Yeah. Well, a good rant. Everyone has been knocking it out of the park. Scrub Nurse, middle-aged gamer guy. Everybody.
Their own fans were like, it's okay.
Yes.
If the fans were pushing like it was God of War style epic game, this would not be pushing like it was this easy. And PlayStation is only doing what they've already been done. We saw in 2013 when we had the whole debacle with Xbox and the DRM. When Sony came out, which was good, I got to give them credit. This is how you share video games. You think they planned that for 2 weeks ahead? They sat in that back room for an hour after that show and watched everybody go crazy about it and huffed and puffed. And they said, hey man, you know that thing we were planning on doing that Xbox is doing too? I don't think that's going to work. Let's try to figure out something real quick. And let me hand you a game. You think that'll work? They put it out on the stage. Everybody went crazy. It's the same thing they're doing. I think that's sometimes why they're not being at E3. It's so they can make sure they're always behind Xbox and they can troubleshoot what they've been saying. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And that's part of the Ratchet and Clank release timing, because guess what? They're going to have their photo mode, and everyone is going to compare everything that Microsoft shows to photo mode of Ratchet and Clank. And they're going to take the zoomed in screenshots, take them in the worst light and try to do that comparison. And they know their fans will do that work for them. They feed red meat to the base. And and again, I've literally seen people that I very highly respect on Twitter saying Jim Ryan can be Pinocchio as long as he keeps feeding me these games, right? And so my thing is, you can have both. You can have good customer service, and you can also release great content. It doesn't have to be one at the expense of the other, right? You shouldn't be okay if I walk into Morton's Steakhouse, right, and they treat me like shit when I go in there. Guess what? I'm not going back, right? And I may go to a different steakhouse if they treat me better. Guess what? Then they've earned my money. And I think we can demand better games, and we can also demand to be not lied to. You don't have to say it's okay, right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so everybody that says corporations are not your friends, no, corporations are not your friends. But guess what? If I'm a customer, I need the 5-star treatment. Right.
And Microsoft right now is the only one out of the big three giving you that 5-star treatment. There's no doubt about that. But great stuff as always. Let's get Tempest Son in on the conversation. But Tempest, before I get to you, brother, I got to thank Flame, who drops an additional outstanding $2 super chat. So they don't believe at launch too many lies already. Listen, it is what it is. And Michelle Alexandria drops a very generous $3 super sticker. Michelle, welcome back. I appreciate you being here. And okay, so let's big shout out to Indie Gamer in the chat, folks. Listen, this is a gentleman that is tirelessly defending the indie community in the best way possible. If you're not subscribed to this man's channel, he's Boomstick approved. Indie Gamer, the Indie Gamer on all forms of social media. Check out his channel. It's incredible. We had a super stick. Oh, another super chat came in from our good friend Sir X Man drops an additional super chat for $2 that Xbox made a killing selling all BC Call of Duties. Yes, they did. But Tempest Son, let's get your opinion on, again, the role reversal. And I want this to be known. I didn't say it in the originally, but I gotta say it again. Is I'm actually happy for people who really enjoy Sony's first party games and cannot find a PlayStation 5, that if they still have their PlayStation 4s, they have the ability to play these games. And I'm very happy for them because, again, we're supposed to enjoy gaming. Gaming is supposed to be fun. And one of the things I love about Sony is their first party games because of that over the shoulder, story driven, adult themed content. That's what I dig. I'm a single player kind of a guy. I appreciate the single player selfish experience, as Cognito would say. And so I'm happy on that. What I'm not happy about, and what has bothered me since this whole thing exploded over the weekend, is how many of the gaming journalists are championing Sony for this when Microsoft did it first, and they're doing it better. And I just don't understand it. What are your thoughts on the ridiculousness of the media, Tempest-san?
I do think some of it out there is still ridiculous. I will say though, not everybody is on board and saying it's great. In fact, even Richard Ledbetter on Digital Foundry just flat out said this is not the dream that Sony sold us. You know, talking about
as a matter of fact, he did say that, and yes, I like that. I like Digital Foundry, even though sometimes they could be a little funny.
Yeah. But so they are getting called out by some people, and the more they're dishonest, the more they do these things. Eventually, if this was 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we wouldn't be hearing that from Richard. I mean, maybe I don't want to call Richard out and be like, oh, he wouldn't dare say his piece. I mean, he might have the exact same opinion, but from the games media, instead of seeing like almost, it feels like half and half, like half are like, oh, good on Sony, and half are like, hey man, they lied to us. You know, it would have been all just like good for Sony. You know what I'm saying? So the more that they're dishonest, the more it's just going to chip away until eventually even the diehards aren't going to trust anything they say, because why would you? They just openly, I'll call it what it is, just lie about absolutely everything. And there's two things I wanted to point out. I'll keep it short and sweet because I want to hear what Cyber has to say. So these things, I think that the big difference on why Sony has to lie to get as many actual systems sold as possible is their business model.
Yes.
They need consoles in homes. So if you look at all of these lies, these sweet little lies, every single one of them is trying to get you to buy their console. You could say, yeah, well, duh. But no, I mean, that is exactly what it is, because they want to eventually move all of their software to PS5. They said it right out of the gate. We need to sell more PS5s than PS4s in order to be successful, right? So I think the key difference is the need for honesty, or not honesty, but to lie from them versus Xbox, who, honest to goodness, their number one customer, their ideal customer is the person that signs onto their Android and starts playing through xCloud, or that has a PC, a gaming PC, and decides to sign up for Xbox Ultimate. That is their ideal, because honest to goodness, they supply you with the choice of having the biggest and baddest console on the market, but that is exactly what it is. It is a choice. That actually doesn't make them any money.
One correction, Tempest. The PlayStation 5 is the biggest console on the market. Sorry.
That's a great point. It is the biggest.
Yeah. So I meant most powerful there. Okay, you are right.
We got to be clear.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
That's a huge bitch.
Yeah, you are right. So I think that's one of the biggest differences. Is honestly, saying it out loud, it sounds like a negative thing, but honest to goodness. And it's beautiful. It's honestly beautiful because it's all just choice. But Xbox doesn't give a crap if you buy an Xbox Series X or not.
They really
don't. As a matter of fact, if you choose to play their games through the Xbox route, initially you're costing them money because they're not making money on the console. So honestly, it sounds bad saying it, but they don't care that you buy a console or not. And because you can play their games however the heck you want to play them. So that's the biggest difference between the two, I feel. But what I find funny about this whole thing, Xbox is honest from the get-go, gets all the crap, says they're not giving us the next gen dream, yada yada. A few months later, they have their showcase, their Game Pass showcase. And one thing, if anybody remembers what came out of that, is the staggering amount of first-party games that are only coming out for the next generation hardware. Right now, this is right off the top of my head, so I'm probably missing some, but like Everwild, Fable, Motorsport, Avowed, State of Decay 3. Oh gosh, I know I'm missing some of them, but my point is, we already know that a ton of Xbox games up and coming are next gen only. We thought we knew of two, which was Ratchet and Clank on Sony's side and Gran Turismo. Scratch that. One is, and that's just Ratchet and Clank.
And I think Ratchet and Clank is, I gotta be honest with you.
I was going to say that. I
know where you're going. An announcement at their big show. Hey, PlayStation gamers. PlayStation 4 gamers. We know it's been hard to get a PlayStation 5, so we're going to be the White Knight champions.
Yeah. I think if they do that or go that route, they're going to port
before
it.
You see it before you see it on PS4. I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think Ratchet and Clank comes to PS4. I do think you will see it on PC before you see it on PS4.
Well, while there is better hard drives more readily available, and I think a ton of PCs, gaming PCs or not, have SSDs. I do feel like, I don't know. I feel like they could do it on PS4. I don't know. I don't want to turn this into Ratchet and Clank discussion, but my point is that's all we have right now is Ratchet and Clank. Returnal was out for PS5, but I couldn't tell you why that was exclusive to PS5. I really couldn't tell you why. That is beyond me. But and then Gran Turismo, but they just announced that Gran Turismo is coming to PS4, and so is God of War. And they haven't really talked about anything else, like nothing else. As far as we're concerned, almost everything on their slate is coming out for the PS4. So the funny thing to me is Xbox right now has more next-gen exclusives on the horizon than what Sony does. And Xbox was the one that took the heat for it. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, it's funny to me.
No, great stuff as always. I mean, listen, this has been a topic. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I'm going to tell you this. We're killing it. Folks, we got over 300 people here. Hopefully, if you are here enjoying the show, you're going to stay, and you're going to hit that like button. And if you're not a member already, not a member, if you already have subscribed to the channel, man, I just flashed up the E3 coverage that I'm going to be doing. And folks, 6 days, 6 live 2-hour programs, potentially even more. And you're getting all the best E3 coverage that's non-biased and, of course, done with professionalism here at Double Barrel Gaming.
And shout out to the 200 likes. Right?
I like it. 200 likes is nice. Let's try and get to 300. Come on, folks.
Let's go for it.
Let's get to 300. Before I get to Cybernox, I got to thank a few people in the chat for donating to the channel. We have Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hey, Boom, love your panel today. Sorry I missed half of the show. Microsoft is going to kill it at E3. Well, listen, brother, don't sweat it. Once this goes up on video on demand, you can check it out. I appreciate the support. And yes, Microsoft is in fact going to kill it." We had another super chat come in. Hold on a second. I just lost my spots. Hold on just a second. Oh, for the love of Joe. I hate when I do that. Okay, we had Boogeyman Boogeyman 9, or I believe that's just Boogeyman. First of all, thanks so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate the support. He drops an outstanding $5 chat and says, "I did not sign a contract, therefore I refuse to be complicit to Jim Ryan's Sony BDSM games." Thus,
it's going to be a thing now.
LOL. All love to the chat and the panel. Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. That was awesome. And we had another super chat just come in for $5 from Chet Sandberg. Hey, Chet, thanks so much for being here, brother. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat: Xbox only makes money on PC with Game Pass. They earn 30% licensing fees on anything sold on the Xbox console online store at some part, and some part of all physical. Listen, they're making money on the subscriptions.
Mhm.
I think that, listen, folks, I don't know how close they are to 25, but I bet you they're close. The more games, and I think after E3, people are going to get on board if you weren't already. And listen, folks, there's one doing it right, and that's Xbox, and there's one doing it wrong, and that's PlayStation Now. PlayStation Now just announced, I think that what was it, 3.2 million, folks. If you didn't understand this, they've had PlayStation Now since 2014. 3.2 million subscribers is garbage. But when you look at Microsoft, which potentially could have 25 million since the summer of 2017, folks, just do the math. There's a winner and there's a loser. And right now, Microsoft is giving you the best bang for your buck. But let's get to Cybernox on opinion. Now, we're going to back end this with the terror tactics that Sony is using. And quite frankly, it's disgusting. And it's not just business. Cyber, you've been chomping at the bit. You got here. You put Joker away. It took you a little longer than you expected. What are your thoughts on the 180 on from Sony, and more importantly, the Defense Force, or the Sony Earth Defense Force, in the media, that's saying that, wow, no, this is good for gamers? Cyber, are you there, brother? Oh, Cyber is not there. Okay, he's having problems with his PC because I do not hear him. All right, you know what? We'll bring you back in on the back end. Scrub Nurse, I gotta go to you next. And of course, like I told you before, I bring the receipts. Now, I say terror tactics. Now, of course, terror tactics is used in war. So this is really not a war, and maybe it's an overly aggressive statement calling it terror tactics. But Fatal Enigma, who is someone that is on Twitter, he posted something really interesting. And this is what he had to say regarding a Jeff Grubb, friend of this show, which, by the way, I was in touch with Jeff today. He's going to be coming back on the show. We're trying to lock down July dates. Also, Miles Dompierre is going to be coming back on the program, as well as Jez Corden is going to be joining us.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So we'll get to you right now. But Jez Corden, I've been back and forth with him. He's going to be coming on one of the Xbox Factor podcasts coming up. I have a lot of big wigs that are going to be joining us. So let's get to you, Cyber. Not your mic is working. What are your thoughts on the way the media is raising up Sony on not forgetting their PlayStation 4 brethren, but they lambasted Microsoft for the same thing?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Boom. Big shout out to Scrub Nurse for being here, first time podcast. And with him, shout out to the chat. I'm going to start off with a little quote from a friend of mine, and it goes something a little like this: "In time, you will know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail all the same.
Wait, hold on. Can I?
Run from it, yet destiny still arrives." What are we doing here? What's going on over here, boys?
Cyber,
yes, sir.
Can I just add a slight piece to that? Just another Thanos quote that is so apt right now. You see how everything that Microsoft is doing, Sony is sort of following behind in terms of strategy-wise. Here's another Thanos quote for you. "You couldn't live with your failure. Where did that bring you?
It.
Back to me.
Back to me, baby." That's
right. I mean, be clear.
It was inevitable.
Be clear. Thanos didn't win that fight, though. So.
Yeah, no. Hey, Infinity War was a different movie. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Boom, this is one time I'd hate to say we kind of told you so, but we've been saying this for about a year, but we kind of told you so. Check the receipts. I've been saying it since Miles Morales, when they announced it last year, 2020, when they started talking about it way back in the early 2020. Check my tweets, check the receipts, it's all there. I said, there is no way Sony is gonna leave out, and I said it on the show too, Boom, 100 million plus potential consumers, potential sales out there. There was no way. We got to remember something, okay? Sony is under a new leadership. Okay, they're under new leadership. Jim Ryan is not like Sean Layden. Okay, he's a numbers guy. Okay, he wants to do what is best for PlayStation and Sony. Because remember, PlayStation is Sony's main division. They're all in on them. They're their most profitable. I don't know if they're their most profitable, but they are the one that makes them the
Well, they're the
most
breadwinner for
money.
Sony.
There's the
no doubt about
breadwinner.
that.
Spider-Man is
P-
saving them on both ends.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
great point, Shrub.
P-
Great point.
PS5, the shortage that they're talking about, that they're using it, it's real, yes, but it's an excuse. Okay, there are too many PS4 out there right now for them to leave these potential sales out there. It's just the way that they're going. They're just blatantly lied, for crying out loud. GT7 was advertised. It's borderline false advertisement. There was till they announced this, it was advertised as PS5 only.
Yes.
Gran Turismo 7. And from everything that I've heard from game developers, people who know about game development, what have they said? Game design is something that's done in the beginning. It's talked about in the beginning, and it's something that's not scalable. So if they design a game exclusively for the PS5 to take advantage of that hardware, it should not be able to be played or done for the PS4. From what I've heard from multiple developers, right? We hear developers on other shows, sometimes on the chat. So how is Forbidden West, I think, was also always a cross-gen title, but God of War, GT7 are now a PS4 title because they're saying, you know, they're like kind of like what Everborn said, they're gonna be the White Knights and come in and you know what, guys, there's a shortage out there for PS5s, so we're gonna put all these games on PS4s. What are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
Why? And you know what appalls me? What's appalling to me is that the fans in this media, they do not talk about it in the same light as they talk about Xbox. Boom, you said something right in the beginning, and it was correct. The media, you used to go to see some kind of, they used to be objective, right? You used to say, just tell me the facts, exactly what's going on. Don't give me an opinion piece. Don't tell me what your preference is. Tell me exactly what's going on. You know, Everborn made a great point.
Write an article to inform your audience.
Exactly.
And you of course, listen, everyone has an opinion, and that's expected. But
exactly.
but that's not the way journalism is done these days.
It's all about the clicks. How can we get our sites engagement? That's all it's all about. It's all the money right now. And there's, we've heard from people before how Sony kind of, has these deals with all these, outlets and things like that. And if they potentially say something that Sony doesn't like, they can pull out some of their, of funds from them, some of their advertisements. So everything will, like nowadays, these guys, I don't even know what they're doing anymore. If you're going to write something like that, if you're going to write an opinion piece, call it an opinion piece, but if you're going to write an article calling them out on it, give us the facts. Like Jim Ryan literally blatantly lied to the Sony fan base, like blatantly. And I've said this multiple times. I've said it here on the show multiple times. Sony is great at telling their fan base exactly what they want to hear at that given time. Back when they had nothing to show in their at E3, when they were still doing it, which they're not doing it anymore, when they were still doing E3, it was all about the indies, right? They showed up. What was the name of the game that they gave stage time to, because they hadn't anything to show? Oh my god, I forgot. But it was go ahead.
Oh, I can't remember.
You can't remember. If I remember, maybe it'll come to me. It was all about the indies. They care about this. Just a couple of years later, what did they say? You know what? We're going to put our attention to all bigger budget titles. Forget the indies. You know what I mean? Like they'll change the narrative every single time. Like you don't know what kind of Sony is going to show. Jim Ryan literally said exactly what he needed to say, or exactly what he wanted to say, because he knows he can get away with it. And what I was saying is, it's appalling to me when we have a community, all right? And trust me, I do not mind the banter, okay? I enjoy the trolling sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can get a little bit too much, but I enjoy it just like everyone does. I enjoy seeing the memes back and forth between Xbox and Sony, between the Xbox and Sony fans. Trust me, I do not mind that, okay? But when it comes times for a fan base and individuals too who really know what's going on, the hardcore, to, you know, who, in my opinion, they kind of have a responsibility just to call out call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Tell their audience exactly what's going on. And these guys are championing exactly what's happening. Oh, it's fine. You know, oh, it makes sense that they're doing that. You know what it makes me feel like? I told you guys this in the chat. It makes me feel like some of these people go out to a strip club and thinks the stripper likes them too. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Come on. It's insane. PS5, PlayStation games, okay, are already amazing. Their first party lineups, we praise their games here all the time. There was no need for this. If God of War was going to be a cross-gen title, if GT7 was going to be a cross-gen title, if Forbidden West is going to be a cross-gen title, treat your fan base like adults, just like Everborn said, just like I'm sure Scrubner says, just like everybody in the panel has said. Treat me like an adult. Don't treat me like a child. Tell me what your roadmap is, and I'm already a fan. If I wasn't a fan of your platform, I wouldn't be invested in it. And you know what? And you know how this PS5 thing is BS? There are more PS5s right now, day and date, than there were PS4s. Okay, so if they wanted to make God of War an exclusive, okay, they could have. If they want to make GT7 exclusive, they could have. Okay, and if they wanted to make Forbidden West an exclusive, they could have, because they have more PlayStation 5s right now in the wild when at the same time that they had PS4s. Okay, so that's BS right there. That's BS, and I gotta agree with Everborn here when he said that. When Sony, not just Sony, all right, when any corporation is saying something to you, okay, you have to do your own due diligence and look at the facts and do a little bit of research. Just don't go, you know, on their word for what's right is right. Do a little bit of research, you know, and see if that's exactly what's happening. But it surprises me, man. Like I said, it's appalling to me that there is some backlash, but Microsoft got more backlash from being transparent and talking and being, you know, straight up day one with their fans exactly what their roadmaps were, and now here they are. Now everything's hunky-dory, everything is okay. Come on, guys, we need to be better than this. You know what I mean? Come on, that's all I ask for. We need to be, and I'll tell you what, Boom, I agree with you 100%. I had this I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget it, and you said it right before me. I agree with you 100%. Sometime next year, okay? Sometime next year, okay? Maybe by holiday, Ratchet and Clank, maybe Eternal, and even maybe Demon Souls, depending, will come to PS4 or PC or a combination of both. That's what if I eat crow on that, I eat crow on that. But that's my thought. Why? Because they still have 100 million PS4s out there.
I mean, it's certainly possible. Again, we don't know what they're going to do. It's hard to take them at their word for sure. But I do want to move on. We do have a smaller topic that I want to get to before we get on out of here, folks. This is going to be the final topic of the evening, and I think it's a good one, and it's a spicy one. You know, Jeff Grubb is a friend of this show. He has his own Game Mess podcast, and on one of the on this week's episode, he said a bunch of things regarding Sony's tactics or aggressive-like behavior. And Fatal Enigma on Twitter put out a tweet where he quoted Jeff by saying, apparently, Grubb has heard Sony is telling their developers / publishers / indies that if they partner with Microsoft for something they could have with Sony, Sony will retaliate by not dealing with them in the future. Basically, what we've heard last year. Sony is being ruthless and aggressive. They are very actively talking with their developer / publisher partners. Now, Jeff Grubb responded to this. And it says this from Jeff. To be clear, I did not hear this exactly. I've heard from some indies that they are worried about crossing Sony for whatever reason, but mostly that is because Sony is serious about protecting PlayStation's revenue, which I think is the case for most companies. Now, I want to kind of turn this over to Scrub Nurse, but Scrub Nurse, before I get to you, we were talking in the green room. Now, I'm a big fan of the Xbox Era podcast with Special Nick and the rest of that crew. And I was listening to their podcast this morning while I was cleaning the house. So, of course, it passes the time. I get my house cleaned. And, of course, I get a chance to enjoy, listening to their show. And they talked about something that I found to be very interesting. Now, I thought, like many people, that the Elden Ring marketing rights was locked up. Well, apparently that's not the case, folks, because Elden Ring was pulled from the Microsoft show. Apparently they could not take, apparently Bandai Namco did not want to take the bag of money that was being offered to them for this one-time deal to get their big game on the big stage. And if you don't know how this works, well, basically what Microsoft does is gives them a bag of money. And then Namco Bandai then hands over the trailer to them, and they play the trailer and they get all the free advertising from Microsoft, but they got paid by Microsoft. Well, apparently they didn't want the money. Now that leads me to believe this story that was talked about by Jeff Grubb and, of course, highlighted by Fatal Enigma, that maybe, just maybe, and this is complete speculation, but now there's where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe this trailer or this deal was pulled and they didn't want to, quote unquote, cross Sony. I gotta say, folks, I understand. I'm a big man. I'm 50 years old. I understand big business. But what I have to say is that's kind of a scumbag move in the worst way possible. But I'm interested to get Scrub Nurse's opinion on this. What are your thoughts on the information that I have provided?
Well, Boom, I think it's just a straight Debo move. Sony is a business. Like we are telling you earlier, all these systems, they want your money. They're going to find the best way. And kind of this is tying into the last topic we just talked about. I think more than anything, Sony is using their fans to talk to their investors. They're using the hype. And what do investors and shareholders want every time they go every quarter? Show me you making more money than you did, if not the last quarter, or show me you're making more money year over year from Q2 2020 to Q2 2021. Now, with that being said, we know that all this stuff was going to happen with these games and these problems not coming out. One, because we've heard the rumors and it's been brought out that Sony tried to push that PlayStation 5 earlier and they wanted to try to hit the end of 2019, which also hurt them trying to get all the RDNA 2. So to get all the stuff what they wanted with this console, they've been building these games for multiple years based on the architecture of the four. You're having this problem now, and you're going to have to keep lying and moving and changing the goalposts to fit the narrative you need to do because you didn't try to put things first. A good company is always going to put money aside to help their company grow, to put research and development, and a good stable company has extra money that they can put aside, and maybe this will be a loss, aka Game Pass for right now. Maybe we're going to lose some money on the console sales, the new Series S, Series X, but we're going to build a product that over the long haul is going to make us more money, substantial more money, and help us win the market. And this is what Xbox is doing. So now when you have this problem with you making all these moves, trying to chase money now, because Sony needs the money now. Like I said earlier, Spider-Man is saving them on both ends, on the movie entertainment side and on the video game side.
That's why they're never letting that go. They got that Spider-Man IP in a
They are keeping that.
You're not gonna get it. I don't care what kind of
Cold dead
Marvel.
hands.
You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it. But you see, when you make them bend the knee, this is why it might later. It just depends on what moves happen. What did Sony have to do? They had to give some of those sharing profits with Marvel to be able to keep it going. Because even the fans of Spider-Man is like, I'm tired of Sony dealing with this. Give it to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Hey, Scrub Nurse, you want to know a fun fact? Sony used to have the merchandising rights, meaning the toys and everything, to Spider-Man, but they sold it back to Disney because they were hurting for money.
Right. And Disney was like, look, they came to him and said, we got to renegotiate this thing. This ain't working for us. And that mouse got some money. And he got some too. So you go and buy that. And this is what is now that kind of nearsightedness is affecting them in the video games situation now. So what they're doing is scrambling. They got to come to these shareholders and go, hey, let's show us what we got. Well, look, we have now, since we don't have our consoles out, now we can reach to this many consumers by pushing our games back to PlayStation 4 and not being PlayStation 5 schools. That's all they're doing. The numbers ain't making it. They're not working. Let's go and push it back, which they were going to probably do anyway because they got to maximize that money. All they're doing is moves, and they're scared. This is a sign of being scared. Nobody is to do this or this or that. You don't see Microsoft doing that. Microsoft is saying this is the platform we got. We've been working on it. It's friendly. They made the move where the developers get a larger cut. If they come here, they're just making it easier for somebody to come. And when you sweeten up the pot like that, folks are going to come eventually. Like we were saying earlier, it's almost like a abusive situation. Eventually, somebody's going to see the light and say, I'm tired of this mess.
Yep.
But for right now, if you're a developer and you see all the eyes that are on these Sony games and the customers are there, the gamers are ready to play, a lot of people are not going to pull away. You're going to have more people who have a stable cash flow, who are not just saying, I got to have that Sony money to keep my stuff going. So a lot of little developers, bigger ones as well, because they just want to keep their game out there and they want to reach the maximum amount. Everybody needs to make up money, especially with COVID, especially with their studios being dispersed there. Everybody's trying to find a way to make up as much as they can. And I think this is Sony's kind of move of desperation. And like I said, they're a business and they're trying to maximize their profits, but this is a definite sign of desperation.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And great stuff as always, dude. You really knocked it out of the park. On your first appearance on, of course, Primetime Gaming. Middle-aged gamer guy, let's get your opinion on these Sony terror tactics. Am I onto something with Elden Ring potentially being pulled from the Microsoft E3 conference because they didn't want to accept free money? Like, I find that to be. You want to talk about business? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
why they would pull that, why they wouldn't sign the contract. And apparently, according to what they were saying on Xbox Era, Microsoft was trying to get this done. Like, they were ready to drop the bag off, and Namco Bandai said no.
Yeah, well, we can't ignore that the two companies are Japanese companies, and
Right.
Microsoft is an American company. And when it comes to business, a lot of times, yes, I know money talks, but at the end of the day, sometimes blood is thicker than water, and they'll stick to their own ecosystem, so to speak, or own countrymen, so to speak, because it's good for business overall. Because if you start having companies kind of going against the grain with each other in their own company, that's bad for Japanese business, right? So they're going to want to, kind of stay on the same page. Now, in terms of this terror tactics situation, I said this actually a long time ago, and I'm not going to be yelling this time. I got it all out of my system.
Excellent. Well, we love when you yell. We love when you yell.
Yeah. Well, now you're dealing with the this is how the mag speaks normally. Anyways, I've spoken to people who've worked in media outlets, okay, in this industry. And now I'm not Jason Schreier over here, but I've spoken to a few people, and they have told me in absolute earnesty that if you criticize, and I was told this actually 2 years ago, I first heard about this, long before I started doing this YouTube stuff. I was told that if you criticize Sony in any way, that they will pull your funding from their advertising, the advertising that they give to your media outlet, the free hardware that you get, and of course, review codes for games.
Wow.
That's a fact. And if anybody wants to refute that, fight me, because I've heard it from the horse's mouth. Okay? That's a lot. There's a lot of reasons why that even when, if you now, with that knowledge in your mind and that knowledge that I've now given you, okay, now watch as your IGNs and your Games Radars and your Euro Gamers and all these other guys, watch how they criticize Sony. You notice how they do it ever so gently, and then they just throw it under the rug and move on to the next story.
Yeah.
They do it because they want to get the news out so they can't be accused of not telling the news, but they do it ever so gently, almost like you're scolding a 2-year-old. Like you're not really getting angry at the 2-year-old. You know what I mean? You kind of just be like, now, Johnny, don't do that again. But you're not really mad at Johnny. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they do the same thing. So now that I've actually kind of opened that door and told you guys that this is exactly what's happening, and I've heard it, like I said, I've heard it from people who actually work in those places, have actually said that they will pull their funding, their hardware, and their review codes if you speak poorly about Sony. I can't imagine any other company doing that. Because I've seen other companies, like, for example, even like when Jeff Keighley and some other people were criticizing Microsoft. Oh, and what was the other one, too? What the hell's his name there? Digital Foundry. They were crushing Microsoft. Then they released the Xbox One X. And who's the first person they invited to try the hardware? Digital Foundry. Yeah. Right? They opened the door to dialogue and said, hey guys, we heard your criticisms. Here's this new console. Let us know what you think. No fear. They didn't sit there and go, that's it, pull all the Xboxes out, Digital Foundry gets nothing. They didn't do that. They didn't pull out of the Game Awards shows when Jeff Keighley was talking smack about him a couple years ago and all these other things. Okay? They just, that's it. That's business. And what they're doing is they're keeping the door open. Where I see what Sony's doing is that they, again, you use the word terror tactics, are exactly right. That is exactly 100% correct. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to frighten and scare people out of, I dare say as well, desperation, to keep these people on board, to keep them in line, because Sony needs the sales more than Microsoft does. That's for sure. If we're going to talk about just those two companies in particular. Okay. Now, another thing is that, you know, you're talking about these smaller developers and all this situation. I don't have to rehash what other people have already said. However, I will say this. If you're a small developer and you're looking at these situations like these AAA, like you look at Sony and they said, we're going to focus on big AAA experiences. That's what they said. They said it. Jim Ryan said it not that long ago. We are going to focus on less but bigger and better quality games. How does that make you feel as the small developer? And all of a sudden you're like, wow. And on top of that, you want me to toe the line? Otherwise, you're not going to play ball with us, with like the small developers. If I was that small developer, I'd tell them to go F off. I don't care if I need the turn. I don't need Sony to keep my lights on. You could go and shop it elsewhere. You've got Steam. You know, and you don't even have to say anything. Yeah, I know they want to expose to the most amount of people in the most amount of markets. Steam's got like 100 million, whatever, plus people it is. Okay, PC players are like triple or double, triple what the console base is. Okay, you got Steam. What else do you got? Now, here's the other thing. Scrub Nurse was talking about, reaching maximum amount of exposure. Well, when Game Pass starts hitting your 30, 40, 50 and above million people, you've now got that exposure without the price tag. That is the key. Yeah, sure, you could put it on Steam for $10, $20, but why bother? And then let's say you've got 40, 50 people in Game Pass. Now you could put that game in there without the paywall and you still get paid. And now you're going to get even more money based on your engagement. Now, the engagement is entirely up to you as to how interesting your game is. That's on you. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. You know what I'm saying? You got to make the game interesting for people to want to play it. But now that you've got that, why would you bother with Sony? So what I think that they should do, and I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want to get too deep in it, but I will say this, though, that if I were Sony, don't ever count out the smaller guy. Don't ever count down, don't ever look down on like, well, we're not going to focus on this and you better toe the line. Otherwise, we're not going to give you the support. They better watch out, because what's going to end up happening is that when people start migrating over to the other side of the fence saying, hey, you know what? These guys are treating us better. They're not bullying us. And that's another big word I like to use, is Sony are bullies. They really try to be bullies. And the thing is, they say these guys aren't bullying us into towing the line for them. But you know what they are doing? They're taking care of us, and they're taking care of our product, and they're looking out for our best interests. People are going to start leaving that Sony system. And then all of a sudden, and I'm not saying they're going to leave the ecosystem, but I'm talking about developers. And then you know what you're going to have left? You're going to have the big five. And then that's all there is. And then that's not going to be enough to carry you forward. And that's where you can go. That's where you talk to people like King David, where he's saying eventually Sony's going to be an app on the Xbox. And I believe that if they keep this up.
I mean, look, as we all know that Sony's bread and butter is PlayStation, right? And I'm going to tell you something. There's a reason why all of these Spider-Man deals, like they extended the deal like through 2026 with Marvel. As a matter of fact, there's going to be some Spider-Man Sony related Marvel shows on Disney Plus. There's a reason for that, right? We understand that they're not a Microsoft when it comes to money. So so they have to use whatever tactics they can use to keep people there. Who I feel really bad for is the indie community. Could you imagine if you were a small developer and you say, oh my God, if we don't talk to Sony, we're finished. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's not fair to these smaller guys.
No,
the thing is,
move.
Oh yeah,
Rome fell. Rome was one of the greatest empires in the entire history of mankind, and guess what? It still fell.
Yeah, so but you know what? PlayStation 2 was the second coming, and PlayStation 3 happened. So I'm not saying it's going to happen to the PlayStation 5, but you never know. That is for sure. Let's get Everborn Saga. But Everborn, before I get to you, brother, I got to thank somebody in the chat for the super chat. AJ Allen drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, what if Sony is using the chip shortage to work on getting full RDNA 2 in their console? Well, they're definitely doing a redesign. That's interesting. I'm not a tech guy, so I don't know if that's what they want, but I would not be surprised that next year we get a PlayStation 5 Pro. That is not going to surprise me. Everborn Saga, let's get your opinion on the Terra Tactics, and am I on to something with the Elden Ring situation where maybe Bandai Namco didn't want to cross Sony and didn't accept free money, because that's really what it was.
Didn't accept. Well, so I mean, but at the same time, right? Like again, it's not show friends, right? Like they're going to do what they have to do.
Yeah, we get that.
Sony's going to do what they have to do to secure because their brand is everything, right? People have an emotional connection to that brand. People consider it these days synonymous. Like a lot of times you could be, and it used to be different, right? In the 360 days, whatever gaming console you were playing, your parents called it the Xbox, right? Didn't matter if you were playing a PlayStation 3, right? And in the days before that, you were playing the Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But right now, the adjective is the PlayStation, right? And so if for you to get like that, you can't let anything get in the way of your mind share. So they're going to do whatever they have to do. The only interesting thing I find here is, they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, right? So 2013, right? After, what PlayStation's version of losing is, which was the PS3, even though they finished up that generation a lot stronger than they started it, right? They didn't have any games at the launch of the PS4, and they leaned heavily on independent developers.
Yes, they did.
The meme was it's the Indie Station 4, right? And they sort of built up the platform off the backs of the indie developers until their stuff was ready, right? And as soon as they were done, like as soon as they started to have their games come out, it was like, thank you, but your services are no longer needed, right? Here's the pink slip indie developers, right? But And on the flip side, in 2013, the Xbox One, who had been riding high off of publicity and mind share, they were saying things like, we have a console for you. And they were doing things like focusing on the bigger games. And they had, in the first 1 to 2 years, they had the big games. They still had the, what do you call it, Mark? The Call of Duty marketing, right? They had better games at launch, right? So I think it's dangerous ground to forego or to treat sort of indie developers like they're disposable and try to bully them around. Now, as long as they have that 120 million consoles in the market, that is going to be, they're going to be able to leverage that. But I think once, like you said, once you have that 30, 50, 100 million people in Game Pass a few years from now, if that's the way that plays out, what Microsoft will be offering is the ability to have like 10 and 20 million people playing your game day one on a release.
Yeah.
Right. And that you will not be able to compete with. So if that's what they're going to do, it will not serve them for so long. So, but again, they have to protect their brand, right? They're going up against someone who, a company, Microsoft, who is rapidly gaining mind share, which is more important than market share, I would argue, right? So they need to do what they can. And if Elden Ring shows up at an Xbox show and people get the sort of their minds can think of Xbox when they think of Elden Ring, that's bad. That shows that Xbox is gaining momentum, and people will think that it's at the expense of PlayStation. So listen, I'm not mad that they do it. I want indie developers to be treated better. I wouldn't consider Elden Ring or Bandai Namco an indie developer, but they're going to do what they got to do, right? And what you don't want to do, right, even if Xbox or Microsoft is throwing some money at you, you don't want to forego that PlayStation audience just yet, right?
Yeah.
So once if Microsoft can, again, build the Game Pass numbers, right, then I think that conversation changes now. So, and again, I don't expect for Sony to play fair, because I don't think Microsoft is playing fair. I'm just talking about strategy wise in their competition. I'm not talking about towards us. I'm just saying, like, look, everybody's going to do what they have to do. And if that's one way Sony can compete, then guess what? More power to you. I hope that works out for you, Sony. Right? Yeah. But do what you got to do, because like I told you, the crossbows are already trained on you, right? You're walking down the valley and the archers are watching you right now. You're being surrounded, right, by Phil, who's going to come out and say, as I like to say, for the watch. So let them do what they got to do, and Microsoft is going to do what they got to do, and that's fine, because guess what? This is a fight. It is a bare knuckle boxing match. That's what this is, and I expect Microsoft to use the tools that they have, right? Sony is using the market share of the PS4 and their mind share with the media to do what they need to do, and Microsoft is going to use the tools in their chest, which is the bag,
yeah,
right?
no,
which is the money. So Microsoft can do things Sony can't do. Sony can do things Microsoft can't do, and I like the competition, so I'm here for it, and I love the corporate shenanigans, but so that's what I got to say about it.
I mean, again, that's fine as always. I mean, again, you say it. It's not show friendship; it's show business.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So we get that, but let's get.
But like I said, last thing, Sony, if you want to do this at the credit of your smaller developers, good luck with that. I hope
I'm hoping that one of these developers actually comes out and talks about this publicly and puts them on blast, because this is again, I feel bad if you're a small developer and you get these kind of threats. If you work at Microsoft or else, I find it to be ridiculous. But 10%, let's get your opinion on this. and then we'll get Tiber Knox, and we'll do the outros, get everyone out of here. What are your thoughts on this new revelation, if you will?
I don't know what to think anymore, dude. I'll be completely honest. Honestly, at this point, nothing really surprises me. As a matter of fact, we heard stuff like this kind of back when The Last of Us 2 was being reviewed. We heard of some of the reviewers that maybe didn't get it like glowing reviews. They actually got messages from Sony being like, yo, what the heck? Why did, pretty much asking, why did you give this thing like a bad review, so to speak? So they're definitely not above this. This goes hand in hand with just a couple topics ago about lying to their community, doing anything they possibly can. Listen, Phil Spencer did something that we feel like was impossible. He's in at the big table now. He's one of the big boys. He's one of the big execs over there. And Microsoft, a almost $2 trillion company, sees gaming as a significant part of its future. So I'm not saying Sony should do whatever they can.
And Tempest, can I just add to what you just said?
Yeah.
He did that with getting backlash from every angle.
Every angle.
That takes a lot of character, and it takes a lot of heart too.
Absolutely. But so what we're looking at a corporation that is willing to, and rightfully so, buy themselves to the top because they care now. And so this isn't the right way you go about doing it, Sony, if you're actually doing these things. But I can only imagine how they must feel. They woke a sleeping giant. They really, really did. Part of the reason they got so ridiculously buku popular during the PS4 generation is they poked the bear at every possible opportunity. The more Xbox was down, the more they kicked him in the gut. They just repeatedly did it. And that's how they got to the point where they're at. And mob mentality is an incredibly powerful thing. And that's actually interesting. I'm not going to get into it, but I actually wonder where things would be if social media wasn't as prevalent when the Xbox One generation was starting up. Because I remember on Facebook, forums, all that stuff, man, it blew up. And just like Xbox went from winning that previous generation to where that was just the place everybody played to all of a sudden they were hated, absolutely hated. And so I don't know. This is just what Sony does. None of this surprises me. They should do things better. I mean, at one point in time, Phil Spencer and the team did not have a budget. They had no money. They really didn't have anything because Microsoft didn't believe in gaming. They didn't believe in Xbox, and they kept the ship afloat. They went through some really, really rough years, but guess what? They did it, and I don't recall them doing it by stabbing the little guys in the back, and I was worried. I mean, even now, fighting for the little guys, they have the best platform humanly possible for indie games. Like there is a waiting list to get your game onto Game Pass. So, some of these projects they are funding completely, and their only thing is just put it on Game Pass, and then instantly they have a huge breadth of people to play these indie games. So I don't know. I'm going all over the place. My bottom line is it doesn't surprise me, and I don't feel like they should do this. But I almost, in a weird way, it's like I almost don't know what they're supposed to do because I don't know how they can compete at this point. I honestly mean that. I don't know how they're going to compete. So that's it.
They're definitely going to be struggling in the service department for sure.
But that's a very good point, though, Tempest. Like, what can be done to compete? And I don't think that this is a big if, but we haven't seen them yet. Once the AAAs start to flow in, and the subs increase. And that has that sort of exponential effect. How do you compete with that?
I don't know. It was a legitimate question I asked. I really don't know. And I guess how you can compete is they take what money they have and they slowly keep on building their first party. And if they come out with good content, listen, I'm one of these people. I've said it multiple times and I mean it. If there's something I can't get anywhere else, if there's a game I want to play, I don't care what it's on. It could be a gaming toaster. And if there's an exclusive game on it, I'm going to purchase that toaster. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
so it just is what it is. I mean, I guess they can compete.
Well, I think here's the problem with that, though, right? Like these bigger experiences that we love Sony for, those are the get the butts in the seat games, but they're really, because their production budgets are so high and they take so long to make, that's not really where you make the money. I may have bought the console for Ratchet and Clank or God of War whenever we get that. However, but in the meantime, if I'm a one console guy, I'm buying all these other multiplayer games and doing all these other things and making these in-app purchases and playing Fortnite and do all those things. That's where the money comes in.
You're right.
So if we get to a place where all of the third parties are just like, I can't afford not to be in Game Pass, and how do they compete if people actually only use the PlayStation the way I think a lot of us here use it, which is only for the exclusives? I don't know how that works, right?
The only thing I can say, and this is way too soon to say anything like this, but once upon a time, Sega had their own consoles too.
Yeah.
Oh, now you definitely sound like King David.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's get our Cybernox opinion on it and get everyone out of here. It's a 2.5-hour show. I didn't expect it to go this long, but listen, we had a lot to say, and I'm glad people hung around. Cyber, what are your thoughts on these new accusations on the terror tactics Sony's using to bully the little guy?
Yeah, it's hard to see, you know what I mean? Them strong arming these indie developers, kind of like I mentioned when I was ranting a little bit earlier. It's just you don't know what kind of Sony you're ever gonna get. One day they love you, the next day they hate you. You know what I mean? They're giving you a hug while stabbing you in the back. Like, come on, like it's kind of disgusting to see because, like I said, when they needed the indie games back, when they had nothing to show, and when they had nothing to, they had no games coming out for a little bit, and they were relying on these indie developers. And now for them to go ahead and be so aggressive and almost threatening these indie developers, like, why? You know what I mean? It's all good and dandy when you need them, but when it's the other way around, and Sony knows that they can kind of manipulate the market like that a little bit, or the development scene a little bit, because they do have the market share. But I do agree with Mag, like there's a ton of other places that these developers can alternatively go to, PC, Xbox, and Steam. You have now the Epic Game Store, even the Microsoft store now too on Windows. They're taking a less cut, just like the Epic Game Store. So they have these alternatives that they can go to. But from Sony's side, man, it's just tough to see, man. You hate to see it, but if the rumors are true, and that's exactly what's happening behind the in the background, it's disgusting, man. It sucks. I understand business is business, but come on, you don't have to bully your way into telling these developers, hey, if you go ahead and you go to our competition, don't come back over here because you ain't got nothing for you. But yeah, that's what I think.
Well, again, great
one
stuff.
Thing I will, I'll say about Elden Ring. Didn't somebody say? I thought I read that it was going to be on Jeff Keighley's thing. Summerfest.
You know what? I don't know. I know that, if you listen to the Xbox Era podcast, apparently there was a deal for Microsoft to have it on their stage, and it was pulled.
Yeah, maybe I misread it or something.
But who knows? Definitely, at this point, it's suspicious for sure. But let's get to the outros, and we're going to start with one of the heroes of the community, Scrub Nurse. First of all, brother, you knocked it out of the park. I want to thank you for your unbelievable service during a very, very difficult time here in this country. And again, nurses and, of course, the medical community get overlooked more often than they should because they are saving lives. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us, brother. You killed it, and you definitely got the golden ticket to come back. Tell everyone what you got going on, and more importantly, what other shows you are a part of.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me here. Boom. I know I've been a fan for a good long time, so it was one of the good things to be able to be on a panel with you and to the rest of the guys, Mag, Everborn, Tempest, and Cybernox. I think it was a great show. I do a podcast. You know, a lot of you guys know Noof Nukem. We do a podcast on Sunday, and that's Good Morning Xbox, and we do that at 8 a.m. Every Sunday morning. Now, except for the next coming one up, because we're going to go after E3, just like pretty much everybody. We're going to do a reaction show, but normally we're on 8 a.m. Eastern. I'm on Twitter. You can find me Scrub Nurse 3. You can find me DM. I'm on Twitch, Scrub_Nurse. I also stream on Facebook with my friends at the Bayou Elite. So I'll put that out there and let you guys know. I'm all about having fun games. It was fun getting a little bit of almost more heated talk of saying, you know, what a lot of fans have had this built up pressure and just get it off your chest, because a lot of times Xbox fans have to just sit and take it a lot of times throughout years, especially starting around 2013. So I'm glad you guys stick with it. I'm glad you're here, and I would love to do it anytime I have some time. Boom, I'll be back. Also, you can come to our show as well. I know that might be in the works down the road.
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, definitely. We're gonna be I'll be working with Noof behind the scenes to get me on that show. Hopefully very soon, potentially after E3, because obviously I'm going to need a bit of a vacation after next week's 6 shows, 6 days.
That's a lot of work.
Oh man,
That's a
I'm
lot of
surprised you're
work.
sleeping.
Yeah, well, I mean, it helps to be retired for sure, but it's still going to be, and I love it. I'm just fooling. I cannot wait for next week, and I can't wait to be with
Boom, you better drink a lot of tea with honey and lemon, because the vocal cords.
Voice. Yes, sir.
Get so for sure. But middle-aged gamer guy, let's get your outro, brother. First of
Yes,
all,
sir.
thank you so much for being here. You know a guy named Noof Nukem, just like Scrub Nurse. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, where they can check you out on other shows.
Yes, well, actually, Boom is busy. I am also busy. I am going to be doing 8 shows in the next 11 days.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm going to be a busy dude. I got people pulling me from every angle. It's quite something. So this week, well, let's get into this outro first, guys. Follow me at the Middle Age Game Guy. That's with a GY at the end on Twitter, of course, and on the Xbox Series X and on the PlayStation 5. You can follow me at all one word, all capitals, because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. That is with 2 G's. Yes, every Monday evening, you can find me right here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends and Scrub Nurse this week on Primetime Gaming. And guys, yes, every Tuesday night, you can find me at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Noof Nukem, Titan Drago, and our usual weekly guests on Gaming After Dark. And also this Wednesday, that's right, this Wednesday, 8 p.m., you're going to find me with the local Southern scumbags of Wilmy Hood and company.
Me
and
too.
I will be on Gaming Beyond the Box with those guys. So that's going to be an exciting
awesome.
Wednesday. And and for other shows coming up, I'll talk about it next week. But anyways, everybody have a wonderful E3 week. Everybody get ready for the weekend, because it's going to be wild. It's going to be awesome. And guys, can't wait to see you all next week. We got a lot to talk about. Have a great night.
Thanks so much for being here, brother. And Everborn Saga. Let me thank you before I get to you.
Yes,
Joe
sir.
Dunmore drops a very generous $2 super chat. Ask the question that everyone wants to know: why is Sony so afraid of Microsoft? It's because they have a bigger bank. No doubt about that. Everborn, talk about your product. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, potentially get involved in your anime that you made.
All right, listen to this, right? We first of all, you can follow me everywhere at Everborn Saga. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Also, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. All Everborn Saga, but more importantly, check out everbornsaga.com, where you can get yourself up to date on the latest in the stories that we are putting together. Now, I shared an image of the new Everborn series that we are releasing very soon, which I will have an announcement about that soon. And also, I want to inform everyone that if you supported the Kickstarter, the shipment of our prints just came into California on Friday, I think. So it has to go through customs, and then it will come to me, and it will be going out to everyone very soon. And then we will have the official release of Ariel's Adventure on the Everborn Saga.com store. So there's that. And also, very big show coming up on Thursday, which is On the Real or Really Real Talk that I do with Kay Asante, where that's a sort of movie and TV focused show. Yep. That's happening at 8 o'clock on Thursday, where we'll be talking about the new Loki series on Disney Plus, which airs on
tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Tomorrow,
right?
Yeah, Wednesday.
But more importantly, the Gaming Circle podcast, also with Kay Asante, this upcoming Saturday at 10 a.m., we are going in and we're talking all E3, and boom, I might tap you on the shoulder if you're available to come and talk with us, but we'll talk about that later offline. And then Sunday, I will be with you, Boom, where we're going to be reacting live to the events of E3. I'm so excited for this week. This is huge. Just to be a gamer in general, like just E3 is coming up, man. So whether you bleed blue, red, or green, whatever, like I hope we can stop fighting each other and just say we all love gaming, whichever platform you choose. And this is exciting times, man. This is the Super Bowl, so I'm hyped, man. I'm ready to go talk about all these things. We got Loki, we got comics coming out, we got E3, we got Splinter Cell coming back. I'm holding you to that, Boom.
I would love it. I would love it.
I would love it. I don't think they would buy the IP, but they definitely sign up for an exclusive. I think they could do that. They got the bag of money to do it. But Tempest Sun, let's get you on out of here. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you on social media, potentially get shot in the face by your Gundam model, and also about your YouTube channel putting these models together.
Oh, I love that. Get shot in the face by my Gundam model. I absolutely love that. I just started. Oh, you can find me at the Tempest Sun on Twitter. I just started my channel. I build Gundam models. I'm going to end up building all kinds of models. And it's a new thing. I finally can sit here and say I have a video. So if you want to, go check it out. A lot of work, a lot of time put into it, but it was fun as hell doing it. And if you watch it, thank you. And awesome show, guys. And it was finally nice being on a podcast with you, Scrub. Panel. Love you guys. And have a good one, everybody.
Enjoyed it for sure.
Awesome.
Yes, definitely had a great time as always. And last and no way least, Cybernox, tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, talk about your YouTube channel and, of course, the other YouTube channel, the Xbox Game Pass Club.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Boom. Chad, you guys were great. Panel, you guys, I always love coming here and talking games with you guys. Scrub Nurse, absolute pleasure, my friend. First podcast, hopefully not the last that we'll do together. Cybernox everywhere, guys. Everywhere. PlayStation, Xbox, PC. Just search for Cybernox, exactly how the name is here, and you'll be able to find me somewhere. Xbox Game Pass Club is my second channel. It's like a book club, but for Game Pass, where we go in there, pick a game at random, or sometimes we'll pick something that's hot at that moment, and we'll try it out. Different genres. Gaming fatigue is real. Genre fatigue is real. So while we randomize these games is a good way to expand your gaming portfolio and also getting you to try new games. You may find and use that discovery mechanism to find your another genre that you like. So I appreciate that, Boom. I can't wait. It's E3 week. Let's get hyped. I just typed it in the chat. We're gonna get some big announcements. Hopefully, if Splinter Cell comes, Boom, if your prediction from last week and Splinter Cell, just the lights go dark and we hear the I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
People are gonna fall out of their chairs.
That's fall out of the chair. I'm gonna start flipping my desk, fall out of the chair. I might break my monitor. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
If that happens, I can see it right now. I'm getting arrested. Like that. That's
I love it. It's great. Listen, folks, this has been a fantastic show. I want to thank the over 300 people that came. It almost had 350 people, and that's awesome. Yes. I want to thank everybody for the very generous donation and super chats. I want to thank all of the new channel members. Definitely appreciate that. And, of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. Also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.